Welcome back to episode 150 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. 150, Troy. Can you believe that?
No, I cannot. I cannot believe it.
That's like 300 hours of us.
That's lots.
We should make our wives listen to each 150 episodes and tell us which one is their favorite one.
My wife does. My wife listens. She always knows what's going on the show, and if I mention anything going on, she's usually right on top of it.
Oh no, that means I got to mind my P's and Q's. I don't think we've got ourselves in trouble with our wives though yet. That's kind of an accomplishment there.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
I got nothing to hide.
Nothing to hide. Nothing to hide. Yeah, here we are, episode 150. Excited to be back. So, what did we learn after last episode? Is Austin Matthews is a little bit of a lightning rod, right? Asking the question if maybe possibly could it be possible he'd have the goals record. That fires people up.
Good discussion.
No, it is good. It is good discussion. And we did hear from a lot of people too regarding sort of why he is such a controversial topic. Is it the American thing? And apparently that's not the case. So I guess which is nice. It's like, good, we're friends. I like that Canada and the US are friends. It has more to do with the fact that it seems like Toronto is the media epicenter of Canada, and that they get a unbalanced maybe or heavily weighted percentage of the media. And if that's not your team or your geography, maybe gets a little old at times. It was a consensus we heard.
Yeah, and we heard also a lot of people that aren't Maple Leafs fans think that Maple Leaf fans are insufferable, and all they do is whine, complain, and it was pretty funny. There's some great. I mean, hey, we're Minnesota fans. That's all we do is complain and whine because our teams stink. I think we have the longest of the 4 major sports without a major championship, if I remember. There's some weird stat like that, so we complain all the time.
I just love how often we got called a Leafs homer.
Yeah, baby. That's my Canadian team, right? I'm supposed to, and they're my Canadian team. I don't know much about them because it's hard to keep up with the Wild, and adding a second team is just hard.
Yeah. All right. One more quick thing though before we get started is want to give an update on our 5K challenge. Haven't talked about that in a little bit, Troy.
No.
Yeah. For those who have been following the show for I guess a few months now at least, we amped up this year's 5K challenge. And really it's a contest we do through our Discord that you get access to through our Patreon. And boy, how does this work? So basically we give people like a $5,000 fictitious budget. You could spend that money amongst any hockey card picks you wanted with a deadline before the end of the season. And the goal is to see whose picks increase by the most amount in value by the time the end of the Stanley Cup finals run around, or I guess maybe lose the least amount if that were to be the case too. And why I say we amped it up is this year we added a pretty big prize for us anyways. The winner is going to get a box of 2020 won the cup. And so we're excited about that. We had a lot of entries and we've had help, which is good because Lord knows we need help. So our good buddies, IFC and Louis, and I think particularly have been helping us out kind of manage the contest through Discord. I think Louis did us a huge solid over the holiday break, updated everyone's went through, and it's a lot of work to go through because I think on average people had probably like 10 to 15 cards that they had within that $5,000 amount, and he comped all the values on them, and we have a leaderboard. It was funny, it worked out this way where we have 5 people that are in the plus territory.
Really? Look at number 1. Really? Come on. No.
You're calling for that's why we have 2 people.
Investigation.
We have checks and balances, right? Because Louis participated too, and so he does Neil's and Neil reviews Louis. But yeah, Neil, other known as Irish Flyers collector, at 9%. And he's not even an investor type. Maybe he should be, right? And then we have John Miller, MN, whose picks have increased by 6% in total value. Calgary Al, 1%. High Gloss, CBJ, 1%. And then Bewley.shop, 0.01% growth. Hasn't lost any. I've not done well. Mine are bad. so far. So bad to the point where I'm when we're done recording, I'm gonna go look because I can't
Yeah.
believe. I don't know if I like went all in on some guy who's like no idea what's happened at this
Some
point.
random guy.
But we did promise that we would give an update
Yeah.
midway through. So there it is. So IFC is in the pole position right now to get that
There you go.
pin of 2020-21 the cup.
It's his to lose.
Now, like we mentioned, people participate in stuff that we do, like the 5K challenge, by helping support our show through Patreon. It's very easy to support the Gong Show. You can do it by going to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com. There's a become a patron link, of course, at the top of the page. You can go to Patreon's website directly, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link in the show description if you're listening to us on a podcast app or on YouTube, and then in our Instagram, TikTok profile. So obviously using or Patreon helps us, pay for the expenses of our show.
Yes.
We say all the time, believe it or not, there are expenses to operate the show. And we're really, really grateful to everyone that chooses to do that. We have it out of 199 support level tier. You become one of the first 199 supporters of our show. You get access to our Discord. We have great conversation in our Discord every day. And it's one of my favorite things is when more people join, because it just makes that community bigger and stronger. So thank you to everyone who has supported us. All right, man. You ready with the game plan?
All right, on today's show, we begin with the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 50, League 5-0. Then it's off to Who's Hot and the good old struggle bus. Next, we take a look at some hobby news. This is followed by a look at what Josh and I feel are some hobby lessons that we have learned over the past 150 episodes of doing this gong show of a podcast. Then we take a look at new product releases. We then tackle our weekly gong show mailbag, and we end the show with personal pickups. Okay, Josh. Previously, we looked at the greatest NHL player that wore the number that matched our episode number. We ran through all the numbers. So now we are looking at the almost greatest NHL player to wear each number from the runners up in the Hockey Writers greatest NHL player to wear each number article. So, Josh, the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 50 per the nominees in the Hockey Writers greatest NHL player to wear each number article, and selected by me, is this guy, Antoine Vermette. I even went and found how to say this phonetically, so I think I'm close. Probably.
I feel like that's like a pasta, like a vermette, like a noodle.
Don't ask me cooking stuff. I'm so bad. So Antoine Vermette. I'm gonna go with that. So I'll probably
for the record too. Here's what I like about the photo you selected for YouTube. We get a little critical at times about maybe some of the Yotes uniforms.
Yeah,
I really like this one.
Yeah, these are cool.
The color and
very solid color. I like the logo of the coyote howling. Yeah. And then the moon on the breezers. Very cool. Very cool.
I'm sure it's retro and not used anymore by now, but
retired. Yeah. All right. The other runner up at number 50 was Jonas Gustafsson. I can't keep all the Gustafsson straight. There's too many. All these Scandinavians coming over here. I can't keep them all straight. And as a reminder, the greatest to wear number 50 was Corey Crawford. All right. Vermette is a center from Saint Agapit, Quebec, or Agapit, Quebec. Apologies if I butchered that one. Vermette was selected 55th overall in the 2000 NHL entry draft by the Ottawa Senators. Vermette played in 1,046 regular season NHL games over a 14-season NHL career. Vermette played his first 5 seasons with the Ottawa Senators. He then had various stints with the Columbus Blue Jackets, Phoenix/Arizona Coyotes, Chicago Blackhawks, and Anaheim Ducks. For his awards and accomplishments, Josh, we got one. It's a big one. One-time Stanley Cup winner with Chicago in 2015. Over the course of his career in the regular season, Vermette had 228 goals, 287 assists for 515 points. Vermette made the playoffs in 9 of his 14 NHL seasons, compiling 14 goals, 14 assists for 28 points in 97 NHL playoff games played. The best season of his NHL career from a point standpoint was his 2009-10 season, where Vermette had 27 goals, 38 assists for 65 points in 82 games played with the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I didn't know barely anything about Antoine Vermette, so I had to do a little research. Vermette was known as a speedy and physical player. During his career, he was at times a top line forward, and he moved all over the place, and then he was even a checking line menace. He was also very durable, playing in 482 consecutive games from 2009 to 15. So good NHL career. Hey, got him on the almost greatest NHL player to wear number 50 list. So congrats to him for that. So what is he doing now, Josh? I have absolutely no idea. I couldn't find anything on what this guy's doing now. So if you're watching on YouTube, here's a picture of him walking off into the sunset after getting ejected for abusing the officials during a game. So that's what I'm going with for his what's he doing now picture. I really couldn't find anything. I don't what he's doing if he's retired. So if anyone knows, send us a message. Is he coaching, broadcasting? Is he our favorite ambassador for one of these organizations? I'm just always interested in what these guys are doing. And Josh, see this guy with the North Star hat and the Wild jersey? I think this was against the Wild back in the day. So it's actually it says Minnesota right there. Great job for me.
Yeah, and the guy on the left has a Wild jersey on too.
Yeah, whatever, Vermette. Leave us alone. Stop injuring our players. So that's all we got. Fun, interesting facts. There's not a lot, man. It was kind of sparse in that. Nickname is Vermy. Makes sense. Vermette is ranked 16th all time for career faceoff win percentage since the NHL began tracking the statistics starting with the 1997 season. And finally, his first NHL goal was an empty netter.
He scored an Ovi.
He scored an Ovi. That's our empty netters, our Ovies. So yeah, not a whole bunch of fascinating, interesting, fun facts, but that's what we got. All right.
So Josh, nickname Vermy is not a shock.
Nope.
What if you're able to rig up like a dog shock collar and you put it on the neck of like coaches and team, just any NHL team?
Yeah.
Or anytime they said a word that ended in Y, they got shocked. I mean, I think within 3 minutes they would all be on the floor, like passed out.
Yeah, the ending with Y nicknames are constant. They're all over the place.
Well, but it's too easy, right?
Yeah, gotta come up with something better.
No, you can't, because what are you, Troy E?
No, you go Ivy.
Oh, Ivy. Yeah, you'd be Ivy.
So unfortunately, that was one of my nicknames. So I can't say I was spared the ending in Y nickname curse, I guess. All right, Vermette's rookie card, Josh. Here it is in all its glory if you're watching on YouTube. It's 2003 Upper Deck Young Guns, number 231. And we all know where this is going. There are only 2 graded copies at PSA. One's a PSA 8, and the other is a PSA 6. Obviously, could not find any sales for the graded PSA copies. If you want a raw copy, they're on eBay, and they're under $5. So have at it. Now, I did also look at Beckett. I couldn't find any graded copies of his Young Gun at BGS. The most graded Vermette card at BGS is his 2003 SP Authentic Future Watch Auto. Has 10 graded copies. There's 1 BGS 10 and 3 BGS 9.5s. I did find a BGS 8 sale of this card for $13.75 US on June 26th of 2022 in eBay and verified in Terapeak. So not
the
much
same photo as Young Guns.
Is it the same photo?
Yeah.
It is. I love it. I don't love it, but I wish they'd change it. But good eye right there.
And at first too, I thought that they had like flipped the photo horizontally because of the number on his sleeve.
Oh yeah.
But the name on his glove is right.
Yeah. No, are you seeing the 20?
He was 50, right?
Oh, he was probably 20. I think he was 20 with the Senators when he started. But then he wore 50 after that. Or he wore 50, I think, the majority of his career. Yeah, some of these guys you got to watch. They jump all over the place with their numbers. Speaking of the flip, was it last episode? We were talking about that one card that it was like reversed image on the back. I can't remember exactly where. And it was an acetate card. So duh. That's why it was flipped. So thank you. I can't remember who. I didn't write them down, but someone pointed that out to us. So thank you to them.
There you go. All right, Antoine Vermette. We know more than we probably ever wanted to, but hey, we're it's good to learn.
Yep.
A lot of these guys too have been from the early 2000s. I've noticed lately.
And I think we're on a Quebec run. I know the last, I don't know, it's been like the last 5 or 6 or last maybe 5 out of 6 or something have all been from Quebec.
Crazy. All right, time for who's hot in the struggle bus. Week 13, Troy,
Yeah.
of the 2023-24 NHL season. Can't believe it. It's like flying by already. We're already kind of
Yeah.
at the midway point, which is crazy. But it's our weekly check-in to see what players are filling up the stat sheet and other players that are filling up the struggle bus. Now, I'm wondering, Troy, do you think the struggle bus is kind of like a school bus? So, do like the coolest players, the guys that maybe have been in a couple All Star games or 5, 10 vets, do they sit at the back of the struggle bus? And then, like the nerdy kind of young guys, prospects, rookies have to sit up at the front? Is it
Oh,
kind of that own social hierarchy that we see on the school bus?
I'm sure, and the ones in the back, the cool kids, they have the TV, but it's broken. They can just see like scan lines and stuff. They
Oh,
can
yeah,
barely
yeah.
make out the image. I'm sure Huberdeau has a nice cushy spot right now for his. He's been on the struggle bus for a while, so I'm
I saw
guessing
you
he.
scored another goal, though.
Oh, did he? I gotta see if I bring him up. He's gonna keep scoring and probably jump off the struggle bus on freeway speeds.
All right, well, let's see who made our who's hot list
All
this week.
right.
We always start with who's hot. First guy is a guy who probably should have been on the struggle bus at some point, and
Yeah.
I didn't realize how slow of a start he's had, but it has been a pretty good week or so for Matthew Tkachuk, our favorite mouth guard wearing on the outside of his mouth hockey player, I guess.
Yep.
He always reminds me of like Steph Curry in that regard. How many mouth guards do you think this guy? He's got to go through like one a game, right? Because
Oh,
it's
it's
got to be
gotta
just
be.
like
Those things are
NATO.
just chewed up, I bet.
Now, I think a lot of people give him some grace, right, for having a little bit of a slow start. He broke his sternum in the Stanley Cup Finals, which has got to hurt
Yep.
very badly. I cannot imagine playing hockey with that. But in the past week, the elder Kachuk brother Troy has 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points in 3 games played. On the season, it brings him up to just 8 goals, 26 assists for 34 points in 39 games played. Now, what you got to remember about Kachuk is he's had back-to-back 100-plus point seasons. So, based on his current pace, we're going to see probably a pretty big drop. Right now, he's pacing for 17 goals, 71 points. If that's where he ends up, it'd be 38 points less than last season. Not quite the Hubertoian drop, but a pretty big step
Hmm.
nonetheless. So yeah, like I said, maybe he should have been on the struggle bus at some point already this year. And when I was looking up some articles on the mouth guard chewing Kachuk, I found a headline that probably sums up his last week, maybe the best. Where that the headline of the article was Matthew Kachuk looking like Matthew Kachuk again. Right,
You can
so
say that about
there you go.
everyone.
Panthers aren't quite a heater as well.
Yeah.
8-2 record in the last 10 games. They've won 7 games in a row. I think in our Discord, people nominated just about every player on the team for who's hot.
Yep. Yep.
When, yeah, and, last night or no, Saturday night. We're recording on Sunday. They just smoked the Avalanche 8-4. It's like a baseball score more than a hockey score. And Kachuk did in that game score a third period goal, Troy, which was the 200th goal of his career.
Awesome. Was it empty there?
I don't think so, no. So now I'm wondering, given he had a 200 goal milestone, should we really drive people
Ooh.
crazy? And our next show, maybe we'll break down the chances of Matthew Kachuk breaking the Gretzky's goal record.
We're just gonna go up to all these obscure, not like superstar guys that have no chance to break it, but we're gonna do all these in-depth analysis just to get people going.
Yeah, we'll save everyone the suspense. After about 7 years in the league with 200 goals, it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
Uh, but Kachuk is the 2016 Young Guns. His PSA 10 pop 1,117, 61% gem rate. Last sold Troy for $100, 100 US
Man.
dollars.
Wow.
Down 20% in the past month, down 32% in the past 3 months. During the playoffs last year, it peaked around
Yep.
$300.
Yep.
And um, I really like him as a player a lot too. I like his feistiness. So
Yep.
makes me tempted to go look for, just to have as part of my PC some
Yeah.
kind of cool rookie cards or something like that.
For sure. Well, now's the time to do it. It's
Yeah.
the dropping.
All right, you got the next guy, Troy.
I do got the next guy. So originally, as Josh kind of alluded to with the Florida Panthers, I was going to do Sam Reinhart, who I'm just going to give a little quick mentioning. He's been on fire. He's got 10 goals, 1 assist in his last 7 games. And obviously, Josh said Florida just themselves has been on a hot streak, but I wanted to go with a goalie. I had to look for goalies. And actually, one fell into my lap. So I decided to go with this guy, Josh, Martin Jones, who is the goalie for my Canadian team, Josh.
Yeah.
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
You're a homer.
I'm a homer. I'm doing Martin Jones.
But you think he's going to break Eric Gretzky's goals record too, Troy?
I highly doubt it. But it's pretty relevant for Martin Jones and what's been going on. So let's look at him. So a couple of shows ago, we mentioned Jones briefly as he is now the starter in Toronto due to Joseph Woll being injured and our boy Ilya Samsonov being on the struggle bus and being sent down to the Toronto Marlies. Here's kind of a fun fact. Guess where Martin Jones was when the where Martin Jones was when the NHL season started. Yep, he was the goalie on the Toronto Marlies. So they've kind of flip-flopped. So Martin Jones definitely responded to being handed the starting role. In his last 6 games played, Jones has 4 wins, 2 losses with a 1.34 goals against average and a .952 save percentage. Those are
right. It's just the story we keep talking about with most of these NHL goalies is that they're on such a roller coaster all the time. Because there was a time in his career where Martin Jones was San Jose, right? Was a pretty big time goalie, and then he struggles and ends up in the AHL, and then Samsonov can't save anything, and then now Martin Jones comes up and he is like Dominic Hasek. It's there's such a lack of consistency right now.
Yeah, goalies
in NHL
are all over. They're just it's nuts, and it's not a week goes by we don't see a guy that was like a superstar a month ago now kind of a struggle bus candidate. So Jones is playing awesome. This is exactly what Toronto needs with the previous injuries and struggles they've had with the goalie position. And Josh, funny you just said that. In my notes, I just made a reminder to say, remember, these are goalies. Things can go south very quickly. And when you think about it, it's like, can he continue, playing this hot? And if he does, kind of what happens when Woll comes back, which now looks like it's going to be after the All-Star break, which I believe I counted is another 10 games or so for the Leafs. So how much can they play Jones with him being 33 years old? Can they play him all 33 games? 10 games being at that age, which he's not super old, but again, goalies, you start getting up in age and hips, backs start hurting. And their current backup is Dennis Hildeby. And I believe he has not played an NHL game, but there's talk. I was reading some stuff that he might be starting here the next game or two. And I also found out Dennis Hildeby is the tallest goalie in the NHL now, 6'7".
Wow. That's crazy.
Big giant guy.
I would think if Jones continues to play well, and like we said, we expect Woll to come back, wouldn't it mean that it probably is most likely then that Samsonov doesn't come back unless there's more injury to the NHL again this year?
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I think Samsonov's kind of out of the picture unless something goes sideways again for the goalie situation. If Woll comes back and plays how he was playing before, I think Samsonov's kind of stuck. So it'd be kind of fun to see how this all plays out. Pretty cool story though for Martin Jones. So Martin Jones is a 2013, apologies for YouTube, that was pretty small, is a 2013 Young Guns PSA 10 pop. It's 59 with a 73% gem rate. Last sold for only $30 on July 30th of this year. In February of 2023, this card was going for around $65. So definitely a dip, but we'll see what happens if he keeps playing well, if there's even just a little spike, but again, not going to be much movement on his cards.
What an awesome rookie card, though.
Yeah, I love that great card. Great card.
My favorite Kings jerseys, the gold and purple and gold, right?
Yep, with the crown.
Kind of in a nice aggressive post. Looks like his pads are huge. Was that like in the big pad era or?
Yeah, Reebok pads. So in Edina, Minnesota, there's a place called Staubers, who is owned by Rob Stauber, who played for the Gophers, played for the Kings, and he has his Kings gear out. You can look at it, and it was also huge. And I think Stauber was a little before Martin Jones, but Reebok pads were always tended to be a little big.
Oh, interesting. All right, so we've had Matthew Tkachuk, Martin Jones, and third guy this weekend who's hot is actually a request. We do requests and dedications here on the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. So someone, I can't remember who it was, sorry, messaged us on Instagram and said, you guys got to do Andrei Svechnikov. And I looked him up and I'm like, he's had a pretty dang good couple weeks. So what the heck? Let's do it. In his last 6 games played, Svechnikov has 7 goals, 5 assists for 12 points. 2 points a game. Pretty good. Now that brings his season total, Troy, to 9 goals, 17 assists for 26 points in just 25 games played. We talked about him recently, right? He was one of our breakout candidates, but then got hurt last year, and got, when we were reviewing our 2023 predictions, and then got hurt on March 11th when he tore his ACL. Ended his season, of course. He had to have season-ending surgery, so that caused him to have a little bit of a late start as his recovery continued into the start of this season. Then he missed some time last month due to an upper body injury, being cross-checked by the Winnipeg Jets' Logan Stanley, which, again, stood out. I saw that, and I'm like, Logan Stanley? He's the guy that, like, fell on Kaprizov. And
oh, yeah. What was it? I think you're right. I think you're right.
Like him and what, Brendan Smith now? Or all these guys are just killing the stars in the league here. So, yeah, he missed some time so he's only played 25 games this year. But I think, though, that's pretty incredible, though, coming off a huge knee surgery like that, to be more than a point per game guy right out of the gate. I don't think anyone would look too down on, if he struggled a little bit or took some time to get his legs back and his game back after that. But I like I said, pretty impressive. So the Canes have played 40 games so far, so he's missed 15 already. Hopefully he'll stay on the ice, a little bit more through the rest of the season. It would be kind of great to see what he could do. And was interesting, though, I've become a really big fan. If anyone has an Athletic subscription, they call them like their player cards. They're a little hard to find. Yeah. They need like better navigation to it, but does a really kind of like quick profile and synopsis, and goes into both the offensive and defensive ratings breakdowns, and then comes up with their net rating. So it's really fascinating about that. Is doing very, very well so far, as you could imagine, on the offensive rating side, Troy. It's the defensive rating, though. He's a net -3. Yeah. Putting him at the 28th percentile in his position. So looks like he's got a little bit of work. He is not any Selke in his future. I don't think anytime soon. He is playing on the top line, of course, with Sebastian Aho and Teuvo Teravainen. First power play unit as well. He does a lot of damage on the power play. I think he's in the 99th percentile. Again, going back to those player ratings in the power play. 13 of his 26 points so far on the power play this year. But yeah, he's had a fantastic couple of weeks. And the Hurricanes are kind of a really interesting hobby team because they're such a good hockey team, but a little bit maybe even like the Golden Knights, in that they just don't have that hobby superstar. And I think a lot of people point to this kid as, he's still pretty young at 23 years old, that if he can stay healthy and really put it together, could maybe have a big breakthrough.
Yeah, I would say there was a time for about one day when Kochetkov was the next hobby superstar for the Canes, and that didn't last very long.
But going back to, though, and you'll have to do this at some point, maybe like while I'm talking, what surprised me about that, because it just goes back to the up and down nature of these goalies. A couple weeks ago, we're seeing all this stuff about how the Carolina goalies are just killing them. They're all bad. Kachepkov's been terrible as they bring him up. And then I was looking at the NHL goalie leaders today, and I think in goals against, Kachepkov's like in the top like 5 or 6 in the season now.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't notice that.
His goals against like 2.5, which is kind of
dead on 2.5.
But what's his ranking, though? Do you have?
Just a sec.
It's like 5, 6, or 7, which really surprised me given all how the narrative on him was so bad a couple weeks ago. But again, 2 weeks from now, he might, have like a .75 save percentage or something like that. Okay, well, while you're looking that up, just going to run through Svechnikov's Young Guns real quick. He is a 2018 Young Gun PSA 10, pop 1,112, 69% gem rate. Last sold for $78 US on December 31st. It's up about 7% in the past month and flat over the past 3 months.
All right, Josh, I think I found it. So number
Yeah.
one is Aiden Hill at 1.93, and Kachekov is 10th.
Oh, 10th. Okay, so that was awful, but not bad. I mean, it
No,
surprised
especially with
me
today's,
again.
with today's game and the scoring up like it is, 2.5 you can probably live with. It's not the greatest, but you can live with it.
There it is, Troy. The rickety struggle bus just pulled up. I always look
Found
forward to
us.
seeing who made the struggle bus each week in the during the NHL season on the Gongshow podcast. Per usual, Troy, you got the first one.
All right, here we go. I'm gonna bring him up. Well, there we go. So I went with Gabe Velarde, and I'm gonna be fully honest. This is maybe a tad unfair, as he was playing very well until recently. But his name, when I was looking through the list and who's point leaders over the last couple of weeks, his name kind of jumped out at me when I was looking for players. So I decided to pick on him, I guess. So over his past 6 games, the 24-year-old center has no goals, 1 assist for 1 measly little point. However, up until this recent rough patch, Velarde was actually playing very well for the Jets, having 15 points in 14 games. So 1 point in the last 6 games, but before that, he was over a point per game player by just a tad. Now, if we remember, Velarde's had some injuries that have hampered his playing time and created setbacks for him developing into the high-end center that he was touted to be when he was drafted. I think he was drafted 11th overall. I might be wrong on that, but he was a first rounder for sure. And if we also remember, Velarde was part of the package that brought PLD to the LA Kings from the Jets. And I think the Jets are pretty happy with how he was playing in that deal. And looking back at the injuries, Velarde missed significant time this year with an MCL sprain and recently returned to the lineup on November 30th. So Josh, another guy, comes back, pretty big injury, missed a month and a half, which was 18 games, and started just firing on all cylinders. He was a point per game player until this recent 6-game stretch.
He just can't stay on the ice.
Yeah, he's always got some. You know what? I'm gonna kind of go on a side note. I found a website, and I'll have to look it up again. It was like Hockey Viz Injury or something. It was a blog spot or a blogger site. It was the greatest site I've ever found for hockey injuries and how to look up guys, and it was all built in Tableau, which is a data modeling or a reporting tool. And you could just pick a guy, and it would have all seasons, what teams he played for, and then show you all the injuries he's had when he's been on the injury list. So it was great. It was really easy.
Real injury or just lower body, upper body, upper
it does body? If it does know it, it puts it, but sometimes upper body, lower body. But then how many games they missed too, it puts. So it's really cool. I got to find that site again and bookmark it.
Yeah, bookmark that. Okay, who's been a bigger surprise to you this year? The Jets, the Flyers, or the Canucks?
I would say, well, I'm going to probably say the Canucks. Just I didn't know how they would respond for their whole shenanigans and disaster that they were last year. And I guess they would be the one that would probably surprise me the most. Now, I didn't do a bunch of research on them in the offseason. I know Tocchet has seemed to right the ship over there, but just how bad they were and all the stuff going on with them last year, I think they would surprise me the most.
I would say it's probably, I don't know, it's tough because all 3 of these teams are kind of lighting it up, I guess, in their own way. And don't sleep on the Flyers, man.
Yeah.
They were looking to be terrible, and they've got some amazing talent coming up. And I think they were like 3rd in their division last time I saw, or something like that. It was pretty cool.
Well, think to it. The Jets, they always just come down to Minnesota. They bring 8,000 fans.
I know.
They're louder than the Wild fans, and they always beat us. So I always think the Jets are good, even if they're not. They seem to play well against the Wild.
That's what shocked me when there's all those stories out there about how they're having a hard time filling their arena
Oh,
in
they
Winnipeg.
travel so well down here.
They travel, and they all look like they're just, like, having a blast, like, they've been
Yeah.
partying for 4 days every time they
Yep.
come, so
Exactly. All right. Last year, Velarde showed some of the scoring touch as he had a career high 23 goals and 41 points. This season, Velarde has 16 points in 20 games, which still puts him on pace for around 66 points. So if he can get back on track, he's still on pace for a career high. But again, 1 point in the last 6 games is struggle bus material. And again, I just lost my train of thought, so I'm going to skip that. Gabe Velarde is a 2020 Young Guns. Holy cow. Sorry, YouTube people. I'm all over the place. 2020 Young Guns. His PSA 10 pop is 267 with a 45% gem rate. Last sold for 32 US dollars on January 1st of this year. To me, that seems wrong, but I put it in there, but that seems like a long time ago for that sale. But
yeah.
I'm sorry, it is wrong. It's January 1st of this year, 2024. I forgot. We're in a new year. That's, oh boy. And in October, this card is going for around 36 US dollars. So 10% drop.
Do we need to pause a minute or two so you can sit down on the struggle bus and collect
Yeah, what's
yourself
going
a little
on?
bit
I'm
here?
talking about struggle bus. I need to get on the struggle bus, maybe
Yeah.
do some repairs, see what's going on, hang my head in shame, go to the box. Ugh.
All right, we'll move on to our next guy, Troy, and
Move
this
on,
one hurts
please.
my heart. It's a
Oh,
sad moment.
that's
Our
sad.
golden gopher, Matthew Nyes, got to put him on the struggle bus. If you look at
Yep.
the photo too, he looks really upset. That
Yeah.
kind of sad that we had to do it. Right? We can't be. Oh, I'm not a Leafs homer, but I'm a Gopher homer, so I'll definitely cop to that. He's got 1 lone goal and 0 assists in his last 9 games played. So
Okay.
kind of hard not to punch his ticket there. On the season, that gives the 21-year-old Leafs forward 8 goals, 6 assists for 14 points in 35 games played. Where he's currently tied for 12th on the rookie scoring leaderboard. Now, on the positive side, about 3 weeks ago now, he did have a Gordie Howe hat trick try in a game against the Penguins, like the Kyle Dubas revenge game, I guess, call it. What was kind of notable about that is it was the first Gordie Howe hat trick in about 9 years for a
Nice.
Maple Leafs player. So probably earned some fan love and appreciation there with that one. Then that got me down the whole Gordie Howe hat trick rabbit hole,
Oh
which I
yeah.
think you've been down that before
Oh yeah,
too,
we've been
right?
down that rabbit hole
Yeah.
before. It's always fun to revisit.
Yeah. So all-time leader, we think is it's not an official stat. So you got to
Yeah.
kind of trust the internet here. Rick Tocchet, 18 career Gordie Howe hat tricks. It's a lot. And then Brendan Shanahan had 17, which is kind of funny because he went on to become like the NHL's disciplinarian official
Yeah,
and
the player safety guy.
player safety guy. Yeah, right. The thing that I found most fascinating is that Gordie Howe himself only ever had 2 Gordie Howe
Yep.
hat tricks in his career.
Yep.
It's funny that he was known for that and it didn't really happen all that. And he played what 2,000 some games or something like
Yeah.
that. So just crazy. All right, let's get back to Matthew Nyes. Couldn't really find anything in the media about him struggling. So I'm assuming that they're chalking the stretch up to just normal rookie inconsistency, which we typically see. I'm not sure. Do you think he's homesick for the Gophers? Is that what's caused this?
Now, I bet
Probably
that
not.
paycheck's not homesick for the
No.
Gophers.
He has been playing on the Leafs top line with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. So come on. I mean, you can't say
There you
you
go.
don't have an opportunity to score goals. Not that we're an Austin Matthews homer.
Mhm.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. Hopefully he bounces back out of it. But like we've said very consistently on this show, after watching with the Gophers, he's a really, really good player. I hope he has a great NHL career. Of course, I root for him, but he's not like I don't think he's got superstar written
Yeah.
all over him. Could be wrong. I hope I
Yeah.
am. Matthew Nyes of the 2023-24 Young Guns, PSA 10 pop 65. So now what's kind of cool about this too is we're just getting to the point where there's enough of these PSA 10s for this
Yeah.
brand for the brand new flagship release a month or two ago, a couple months ago now. So we see the 30% gem rate. So pretty consistent with what we've been seeing the last couple years with like Cole Caulfield's and Trevor Zegras's, ever since I guess 2020, which had a lot higher gem rates. Series 1 gem rates tend to be lower too, I think, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of interesting there. So last sold for 175 US on December 31st. Only 6 total sales to date for a base Young Gun PSA 10. So you got very small sample size, but it is up about $25 or 17% from the most recent sales.
Oh,
Matthew Nyes and Gabe Velarde
yep.
on the struggle bus. All right, Trey, got to make a mention for Gong Show sponsor Slab Sharks. Super grateful to them, of course, for their support of our show. Well, they're back after their holiday hiatus. The first weekly eBay auction of 2024 is underway. You will definitely want to head to slabsharks.com for a link to the auction. Check out all the crazy nice cards available this week. I spent a little bit of time yesterday looking through the auction, and here's just a couple of amazing cards. And we knew that it was going to come back
Yeah.
and have some big ones. And right out of the gate, Troy, there's a 2005-6 Black Diamond, Alexander Ovechkin, Rookie Gems Quad Diamond, BGS 10 Black Label. That's
That
a
looks
nice card.
nice. Yeah, that looks nice.
I less and less like Beckett, but I'll admit I'm a sucker for that stupid Black Label.
The black label, yeah. I
It's me
agree.
in all the hobby feels.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, sticking with big Ovi cards. There's also a 2005-06. I had 2005-26. It's good. Long,
Cool.
long day range. But it's a 2005-06 SP Authentic Future Watch Auto at a 999 BGS 9.510. This week's auction. Huge card there. Now, it sometimes like feels like anytime like you're reviewing or looking at Ovi cards, like Ovi and Sid, like they'll always
Yeah.
forever be attached in the hip in the hobby. So got to move on from this one to a Sid card and a really big one here.
Yeah.
2005-06 SP Authentic Flop Future
Flop.
Watch Auto Patch Flop out of 100 BGS 910. To switch to the patch was a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
I mean, at least it's got a cool pattern,
Yeah.
the white. So technically two color, but very, very big rookie card there. Another banger in the auction is a 2019-20 Exquisite Collection Jack Hughes RPA out of 86 BGS 8.510. Now that's an awesome patch there.
Yep.
Pretty cool card. Really, really like that card. And then finally, how about a Cole Caulfield The Cup 101? 2021-22 The Cup class of 2022 RPA Black 101. I think it's a 3-color patch. I like by the
Yep.
sliverest of slivers.
Yeah. There's
There
a
at
red
the
in
top.
there. Yep.
Pretty awesome though. Cole Caulfield The Cup 101. Lots and lots of other amazing cards. So, like I said, they came back with a bang for sure.
Yep.
If you're a Canadian hockey cards collector and would like to do no work and sell your cards in one of the premier weekly hockey card auctions, Troy and I would recommend checking out Slab Sharks for their eBay consignment services. We say do no work because it's kind of true. You just send them your cards or drop them off and they take it from there. They do all the photos, they list the cards, answer buyer questions, hunt down payment from the winners, ship your cards to both the US and Canada, and handle any post auction issues. So, again, check out slabsharks.com for complete consignment info and to start consigning your cards with them today. Hobby news.
Lots of hobby news. Or in
The biggest hobby news story ever, Troy, do you think?
the news we all didn't want to happen, but we knew it was coming, and
Oh.
here it is.
Like the one thing we said that we,
Yep.
I kind of feel bad about this photo.
Well, I don't know if we're going to get into this, but when you watch the video, if you just watch it in real time, it's like, it didn't look, I mean, yes, it's a hard hit and everything, but once he went down and got up and skated off, I was like, ooh, that doesn't look good. I guessed it had to be jaw. Like, it just how it looked from what it wasn't a concussion because he didn't like lay down or anything, but man, you can see right there, he's already reaching for in the photo. He's already reaching for his chin
on the way down. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I assume right away you guys teeth knocked out or a tooth knocked out or something like that.
Mm.
But isn't there usually blood in that case? And there wasn't any blood. Yeah. Well, it happened.
Yeah.
Connor Bedard is hurt, broken jaw, placed on injured reserve. Happened Friday night in the first period of the Blackhawks' 4-2 loss to the New Jersey Devils, where Devils defenseman Brendan Smith hit Bedard as Bedard crossed into the offensive zone. The hit was consensus from just about everyone is the hit was clean, so
Yep.
there's no drama or controversy there. He was skating the zone. It looked like he tripped a little bit trying to get around one guy, and maybe, you know, who knows if it's a kind of classic welcome to the NHL, keep your head up, protect yourself
Yep.
moment. But he did look like he stumbled a little bit, and that might have prevented him from protecting his base, I guess, a little bit there. There's no timetable for his return at this point. A huge bummer, of course, for the NHL and the hobby. Hopefully, Troy can come back sooner than later and maybe wear like a face shield or something like that.
Okay. I got a picture for you. I added it. Surprise picture.
Oh,
If he does not come back wearing this thing, I don't know what we're doing. If you're watching on YouTube, this is Pat LaFontaine when he had the same kind of deal, but it's like a patched together stormtrooper helmet, and it's fantastic. If I'm Bedard, I would at least try to get something like this for a practice because this is
how did you
hilarious.
find that?
Someone I can't remember if it's our Discord or I saw it on Instagram. Someone put this out there like that they need to bring this back. It is the
That is like I
greatest
can't
shin
make up my
guard.
mind if that's the most ridiculous or most awesome thing I've ever seen. I think it's both.
And the great thing is there's a blue one too, because he wore one for the home and one for away. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that because it's a broken jaw, which would really suck. Like I don't know if he had to
Yeah.
have a wired shut or if he's like eating through a straw right now or what the situation is.
Yep.
I'm sure it doesn't feel good, but it's not like a knee or a back. I mean, they said like in the articles I was reading that he can start skating almost right away
Yeah. You
and
can play with
keep
a
in
broken jaw. It's
in yeah keep in shape and so it's like put a I don't know if like an eye tech or something like that, like a full shield would give him enough protection, but they'll figure something out to get this
yeah.
kid back on the ice, wouldn't you think?
This is this is one of the way or it's one of the exceptions where you can wear a shield or like I don't know if it's a shield and a cage or a cage or if it's just a shield. I don't know what the NHL rules are on this kind of injury, but I think he can wear a full shield now.
Yeah. And then did you see to compound the issue that Nick Foligno had to have the obligatory fight with Brendan Smith, which
Yep.
is kind of getting to me now. It's like you shouldn't have to, you should be able to make a clean physical
Yeah.
play and then not have to fight afterwards
Yep.
because as a result of that, a star on the other team got hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, so go ahead.
It's crazy with the whole clean hits and then we have to have a fight. I kind of get it. It's Bedard, it's your star. Even if
Yeah.
it's clean, you're going to go and look for payback, but obviously it hurts the team even more now cuz he broke his finger.
Well, Brendan Smith is a pretty good fighter too, so it's not,
Yeah.
careful what you ask for. And then Nick
Yeah.
Foligno breaks his finger, and now he's on the IR.
Yeah.
And they were a bad team to begin with, and they have so many injury issues now that it's just crazy.
Yeah.
But then getting back to Bedard, and we said it right off the bat, right? The injury thing is the big potential risk that we highlighted before the season. I don't know. Well, actually, do you think he should have protected himself better, or is it just kind of a freak thing
I mean,
that
obviously I would like
happens?
to see him protect himself better. I don't know how you kind of watch the video and it does look like he kind of trips a little or just gets off balance and I don't know exactly what he was doing or if he even thought to protect himself. But I think we get to this in mailbag. There's a couple questions, but I think what this shows is even though it's not the injury that can affect him like a knee, a back, it's one of those things too. Him being 5'9", going against 6'4" guys or 6'3", when that check comes and if they hit square on the shoulder, guess what's in front of them? It's basically his head because Bedard's
Yeah.
5'9". And I think that's the bigger concern. While it didn't happen this time, it got his jaw. And I don't know how the rule is on that. Because if I'm 6'5" and I go to check a 5'9" guy, am I supposed to duck down as low as possible to make sure I get his chest? But I think that's the kind of concern now with Bedard. It's just his size and what's going to happen. Obviously, this is the first one, and will other things happen with due to his size and physical play?
I think that's a good point because if it was Slavkovsky, it would have
Yeah,
just
he's a
been a
giant.
shoulder to shoulder hit,
Yeah,
and he probably would have been okay.
yeah,
Yeah, really good point. So the situation obviously creates some pretty big hobby questions. surrounding the immediate sort of reaction to his injury. And the first thing I'll say about the hobby impact is, of course, I'm beating a dead horse a little bit here, but this is why I was pretty insistent. And I think you agreed that there's been 3 years of hype for this kid. Bedard
Mhm.
didn't come out of nowhere, and I understand all the rules about when players become young guns and it can become young guns, but I'm still adamant that this is 100% why he should have been in Series 1.
Mhm.
Even if they had delayed it a month, because
Yeah. Well,
we
he
knew that
was,
this could
right?
happen.
He was technically in series 1.
Yeah, fully, right? It's like you can take a picture of him on October 10th and find a way to get those cards, maybe get the set out 2 months later. Again, I don't know all the particulars, and the Upper Deck people are probably, like, laughing at us right now, and I get it, but it's just such a missed opportunity, I think. But all that being said, and we'll get into this probably a lot through mailbag and through the rest of the episode. I don't think, because of the nature of the injury, I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to derail his hobby hype train at all. Honestly, it's,
No.
if it was like a back injury where he's having back surgery,
Yeah.
and then you're left to wonder. It's like, oh my gosh, is this going to limit his speed or his agility and diminish his career?
Yeah.
Then I think I'm a lot more nervous buying his cards, but it's just an injury that really sucks and is really painful,
Yeah.
but shouldn't limit his hockey in any regard. I don't know, do you agree with that or not?
Nope, I agree. I Once it was a jaw and not a concussion. Concussion would have scared the living, because once you get
Yeah.
one concussion, man, you're way more likely to get another one or a repeat one. So as long as it's jaw for now, I think we can all take a deep breath. There might be some really quick reaction, panic selling or panic stuff for a day, but I think we're good
Yeah.
for now.
I also don't think the Series 2 box prices are coming down at this point.
No way.
We're
I
too
don't think so
close to
either.
release. It is what it is. And the anticipation for this is built up so long that I just don't think that that's going to happen. We had the McDavid injury too that happened, right? Uh,
Hmm.
I didn't look it up. I wanted to, but I wonder if it was at almost the same time frame
Oh,
as
that's
the
a good
amount of
point. Good
games
question.
played. And then, the other thing people are asking a lot too right now, we're hearing a lot, is what are the singles prices going to be for his young
Hmm.
guns, and how could this injury impact that? The hard part there is we don't know what they were going to be anyways.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be people pontificating. I think, if it's selling for 500, would it have sold for 700 if he didn't get
Yeah.
injured? Right? I mean, there's no way we'll ever know that. But then too, we're still probably at least 6 weeks away from Series 2 coming out.
Hmm.
And do you think Upper Deck would even delay it now?
No,
You don't?
I don't think so. I think there's too much stuff in the works behind the
Uh,
scenes, the logistics and everything. And hey, he comes back. Obviously he's on IR. It's whatever. They haven't given us a time frame, but I
yeah.
can't believe he's going to be out that long. So I don't know. I don't think there's any way they delay it. Not for one player. I know it's the
Me
biggest
being
player.
able to skate right away is a big deal because that means he should be
Hmm.
able to stay in shape.
Yep.
And hopefully, sometimes you injure your knee and then you got to spend 2 weeks kind of getting back into game shape,
Yeah.
play your way back into that shape where hopefully he'll be able to hit the ice running or skating, whatever the analogy
Yeah.
would be. Now, and so I'm really not, this doesn't worry me or kind of affect my opinion on what's going to happen with Bedard in any way. The interesting thing for me is I think it opens the door to now shine the light on some other rookies, maybe a little bit
Yeah.
brighter. And could it maybe open the door for someone else winning the Calder?
Good question. Depends when he comes back. Right now, I'm looking it up as we speak. Bedard's first in points, right, with the rookies, 33.
Yep.
I don't know if you get into this. Sorry if you do. And I
No, I don't.
stepped
Go
on your
ahead.
touchdown call. But
Go ahead.
and
Go
then
ahead.
second's Rossi with 24, then Fantilli with 24, and Luke Hughes 23. So yeah, if he depends how long he's out. But yeah, it definitely opens or gives these guys a window into trying to gain some ground on them.
Did you see Bedard's plus minus?
Is it like I don't see it,
Yes.
but I'm gonna guess
Take
it's
a
like
guess.
-20 or something.
-22.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be huge because It's Chicago.
He's probably not the greatest defensive player, but
No.
his team is horrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, cutting him some slack there. Yeah, I wonder if like this Adam Fantilli has played pretty well lately.
Mhm.
He's been amping it up a little bit, and Marco Rossi just doesn't feel like a rookie because
I
he's
know.
been around
Yeah.
for so long, but he technically is. And there's Logan Cooley, like you said, and Luke Hughes. So the other thing though that is kind of a bummer or compounds the bummerness, if I'm going to make up a word,
Mhm.
is we also have the Leo Carlson sprained knee. He
Yep.
was awesome before he got
Yep.
hurt. So now we have what, probably two of the top, probably three rookies between Fantilli, Bedard, and Carlson that are out with injuries. That sucks.
Yep.
I'm still gonna say that if I have to name a Calder winner, I'm still sticking with Bedard at this point.
Alright.
You
You think the fix is in then?
just think the hype is too strong.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, it's not like he's playing well. He deserves it right now. If he voted today, he gets it.
Yeah. Somewhat related, Troy. The All-Star game rosters were just announced, or
Yep.
the initial 32 selections. Kind of weird how they do it.
Yeah, it's
And
strange.
Chicago rookie Connor Bedard
He made it.
maybe will play in the 2024 NHL All-Star game. I mean, he's on the team. That's on February 3rd, so we're just under a month from now. Uh, I don't know if they would play him if he's still hurting in an All-Star game. Probably not. Want to risk that, but
Yeah,
he was the youngest NHL player in history to be named an All-Star,
that's surprising. That was crazy.
joining 31 other players, which is total from one team that has already been named to represent their team as All-Stars. Now, okay.
It's everyone
Huh.
gets a trophy thing. Is that what you're going with?
Yeah. It's like how do you judge the? It's a huge deal as the youngest player ever, but Chicago had to have an All-Star because every 30. It's not like he plays on the Maple Leafs or the Oilers, and he got picked over McDavid and Draisaitl, right? So I'm not trying to
Yeah,
like diminish him being an All-Star, but it's like who was the alternative?
I'm gonna look it up so we can have a decent. Let me look real quick. So
I
Chicago
there,
watch. It's probably no one. It's probably Bedard. So they're point leaders right now for. Oh, Bedard leads them in points by
yeah.
far. He leads these first. Khrushchev. They don't have anyone. It's Bedard.
Yeah, so like I said, it's very deserving from that perspective, but
Yeah,
there's really not a great alternative. But let's not rain on the parade, right? Still a big
yeah.
deal. It's still pretty awesome. Other notable names selected include Austin Matthews, McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Kucherov, Pasta, two of the Hughes brothers, Troy, Jack and Quinn, not Jack Quinn though, and then Sidney Crosby. So here's something that completely blew my mind, and I spent like 5 minutes like revalidating this. It's only Crosby's sixth All Star game.
Yeah, I'm curious if it's like due to injuries, if it maybe 6-time playing. I gotta believe he's been selected more than
No,
six
no,
times.
it's six-time selection
Really?
in what, like 18 years. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. So the final 12 spots will be voted on by fans. You can vote on NHL.com through January 11th. Uh, they keep retooling, all the leagues keep retooling these All-Star games to try to make them somewhat interesting.
Yep.
And so they're bringing back the player draft. Looks like celebrities are going to be paired with captains who will pick 4 teams of 11 players, that each team will have 9 goalies or 9 skaters, 2 goalies and 9 skaters. I had 9 goalies and 2 skaters. That would be a hell of an all-star.
That'd be crazy. Okay, you're gonna hate me, but where this is going from Wikipedia, so let's remember that when I say this. They show him making the All-Star game 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times.
Really?
See, I wonder if it did you happen to look were you looking at Hockey
It was on
Reference?
the NHL.com article.
And it was All-Star game, maybe not All-Star, because this is where we get in that discussion where it's like first team
Yeah, we
All-Star,
was talking
second
about
team
the
All-Star.
all-star game.
Yeah, I'm
Go
curious.
find the NHL.com article, and maybe the article is wrong. Well, that
Yeah,
that makes more sense, like 10 times, because like one of the all-time greats doesn't make an all-star game 6 times. It's like
yeah,
weird.
that just seemed odd, but who knows?
Okay.
Wikipedia is also not the arbiter of the truth. So
Yeah. So it's like they're gonna have 4 teams again, kind of like a tournament style, I guess. The article on NHL.com was not very specific, like how the All Star game works either. So maybe that's more credence as to how it could have maybe had an error around Crosby's All Star games.
Oh, I see. Okay, so yeah, it says center Sidney Crosby, who is making his 6th appearance. See, I think there's something they're missing something.
Oh,
That
really?
they worded that weird with like appearance versus selection versus it's whatever. You're both right, or you're right, and because you used
Well,
our
I don't think I was right,
NHL.com
but
should
I
know,
got
right?
bad
They should
info.
be.
Yeah. How do you trust Wikipedia over NHL.com?
Someone will tell us what the real answer is.
One thing I'm excited about it. Did you see how they updated the skills competition this year?
I didn't. I have not seen. I haven't read anything on the All Star
Okay,
game
well,
for
they're not
sure.
doing like beach volleyball bingo type
Oh, that
stuff
was
like they did
ridiculous.
last year. So thank God there. So it's more like traditional skills. But here's the rub, Troy. The winner gets $1 million.
Oh, that's nice.
Now for a hockey player, and this isn't like they don't get basketball money. So I would assume
No,
that this is a big deal for
yeah.
some of these guys, and we might get some max effort going on there to win the skills competition. So I'm definitely gonna be tuned into that. Oh, it's funny. I wrote this before he got injured. What's the hobby significance of Bedard being named an All Star?
Well, well
Maybe,
deserved. Just
yeah.
adds to his hype.
And again, who knows if he'll play? Probably, I
Yeah.
would say I would doubt it at this point. If he is, I don't know though, if he comes back in 2 weeks and has 2 weeks of games under his belt and
Mhm.
has the stormtrooper helmet on like Pat LaFontaine, maybe. Are going to move on to a little bit different topic here, Troy. Red, white, and blue, Team USA
Yep.
won the World Junior Championship on Friday, beating Sweden 6-2, claimed their 6th World Junior Championship from Gothenburg, Sweden.
Yep.
Hopefully that really is their 6th. Now I question everything
Now you
I
question
found out.
everything.
Uh, Not trying to rub it in too much with our friends from Sweden, Troy, but I found this info interesting
Yeah.
that was published from USA Hockey before the championship game. It was funny. There's a typo in it because, it says it starts off by saying the U.S. has a slight advantage in the win-loss record, and then it's
Yeah.
18-7-2. It's actually 18-17-2.
Oh, okay. Because that was the first thing I saw. It's like slight. You're telling me
Yeah,
winning over half the game is a slight
and I was
or
gonna make
just
fun of
over.
USA Hockey over that, but it's just a typo, and
Yeah.
heck, we do it all the time. So, but as part of that, so again, this is before the game. We were 1-0 in gold medal games, so now 2-0 against Sweden.
Sweet.
It's also Team USA has won now its 7th medal in the past 9 World Junior Championships, best stretch in Team USA history.
Yep.
So on the up, but I think a lot of credit goes to the U.S. National Development Program,
Yep.
which was established in the late 90s as a way to get serious about us competing in international hockey and producing better talent. Now back to the game. Did you watch the game at all?
I didn't watch. I watched the highlights, but I know where you're going. I saw this part. This was fun.
Yeah, game got out of hand, of course. You see a 6-2 score, and tempers started to flare. Obviously, huge disappointment for Sweden. You're at your home crowd, and you played awesome to that point in the tournament, and
Yep.
kind of just things got away from them in the gold medal game, and a pretty big fight broke out.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So I got a couple points on this fight. So if you watch the fight, what did you notice? And I don't know if this is an IHF rule or what was going on. None of the players dropped their gloves. They all
Yeah,
keep their gloves on and just swing haymakers. So I was like, I'm guessing that's because if you drop, it's a fight. Now it's the end of the tournament, but you can still be suspended for future IIHF events if you're going to be in another World Junior or whatever stuff is going on. So that's why I think they all kept their gloves on. And I went and looked at the score sheet. There was no fighting penalties given. It was all minors and 10-minute misconducts. And then
really.
also, are you going to, I don't see it in the notes, but kind of what led up to this was the Swedish fans. And let's be honest, the USA got cocky. They were scoring, they were blowing kisses to the fans, they were
Oh yeah,
waving. Now, I have an opinion on this. I actually like flair. I like being excited. That stuff to me is just part of what everything is going towards. Look at baseball. Guys celebrate home runs, throwing the bats, flipping them, pitchers screaming. I think it's just more expressing yourself, Now I get it. You can be mad, and Sweden obviously was, and I don't fault them for actually trying to get in a little rub at the end of the game. I just I just love when there's emotion in hockey. And I know some people don't like the waving or the blowing the kiss, but to me that makes it exciting.
Oh, it totally doesn't. You just can't
Yeah.
be mad when then teams want to fight you then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's
And then
like if you're
you
gonna
better back it up.
yeah. No, I didn't have that down, but I should have. And yeah, it's just uh fights in hockey are fun. I don't know
Well,
any
the
other way
one
to put
guy,
it.
I don't know if it's this one, Josh. This guy was like 6'5" or something. You going up against
Yeah.
our we had a little dude just throwing he's like trying to throw these uppercuts at him, and it was kind of funny.
The tournament MVP, Sweden's Jonathan Lekerimäki. I
Oh,
guess the media nominates the MVP there. So he was named
yeah.
the MVP of the tournament. 19-year-old forward had 7 goals, 3 assists for 10 points in 7 games played. He was the 15th overall pick by the Vancouver Canucks in the 2022 NHL entry draft. So there, Team USA Troy, of course, there's a ton of standouts. Flyers
Mhm.
prospect Cutter Gauthier led the team with 12 total points, 2 goals, 10 assists. A lot of people talked about the Boston College line of Will
Yep.
Smith, Ryan Leonard, and Gabe Pearl. They showed their chemistry in big moments. A lot of other great performances. Next year's tournament will be in Ottawa, and then the Twin Cities after that in 2026.
Yeah, that's
That'll be
I'm
pretty cool.
awesome that it's coming here. It's been a while. I think 9 years, they said, 9, 10 years.
Oh wow!
And I think they're having it at Excel. Was
And
it
Mariucci,
Excel and Mariucci? And then
yeah.
maybe they're trying to figure out if they can do it due to like Duluth and move it around, like some of the prelim games, move them around to different cities. Now, people not from Minnesota, Duluth, what, two and
Two
a
and a
half
half
hours
hours.
north?
Yeah.
So there's some stuff, but they've done that at other countries. They've moved
Oh,
it kind
cool.
of around and for the prelims and stuff. So that'll be interesting, but I'm glad we get it.
All right, Troy. Quickly to round out hobby news, just wanted to mention that there is a January grading special right now through PSA. So through the end of the month, PSA is offering their Collectors Club members, I guess, pretty decent grading special for modern sports cards. Cards need to be 1993 or newer. 10 card minimum, maximum declared value of $250, but you get these graded for basically $15 US a card, which is reduced from the normal 25 US dollar charge. And we'll kind of get into this in mail bag a
Yeah.
little bit too. But the one thing that irritates me about PSA is, and again, this is a good deal, so I'm not trying to like knock it. And if you're like, if you want to like flip young guns or something like that, like modern stuff that have
Yeah.
lower values, I mean, it's probably something you want to take advantage of. There's just like 7 qualifiers with
Yep.
everything they ever do. Like nothing is, and that's where I give like SGC and Tag and probably even Beckett. I just don't pay enough attention to them. A credit is that they're just so much. It's like I don't want to have to. It's like, well, it has to be this, and then it can't be that, and it has to be worth this, and you have to do 10, and then you have to be a collectors club member.
Yeah, if you're reading online, I zoomed in where you can see all these exclusions. It's still hard to read, but all these exclusions. There's like, come on, people.
Yeah, and then just all like I just wish that they would, and they can do anything they want, right? They're the king of the
Yep.
hill,
Yep.
the 800-pound gorilla. But like I said though, like if you're into maybe like buying run raw young guns that are like in the $100 to $200 range and
Hmm.
flipping them, and you're going to be bulk submitting essentially anyways, it's a pretty good deal. You might also be able to take advantage of this through your local LCS and
Hmm.
bulk submissions they do, even if you have one card. So you might want to check that out too. Are you ready to move on to hobby lessons learned, Troy?
I
So
am.
you hit these like milestones, and I never know what to think of it, right? Because it's just like, well, one more show than the last one that we did, but
Yep.
it does kind of seem crazy. I guess I couldn't have imagined getting to 150
No.
18 months ago when we started this. And, we've done, of course, tons and tons of hours of research. We've had countless interactions with other collectors. And, we've just ourselves have
Yep.
learned so much along the way. And, I thought, well, to maybe commemorate our 150th show, let's try to maybe pass on at this point, like what we've learned at this point, what are maybe some of the key hobby lessons that hopefully can help maybe if you're newer or look something or maybe solidify something you were wondering or just help your experience in any way. So we're going to kind of ham and egg it, Troy and I, and I'll start maybe by throwing out some of the key lessons that I've learned, and then you can chime in wherever you think that's appropriate. And you have your own list as well too. Um, I kind of found that like I don't know, maybe if it's the place I'm in mentally or what, but mine were more like big picture kind of lessons and
Hmm.
that I would thought of versus like synergy is better than trilogy, kind of like very like granular type things.
Yeah.
And so the first thing that came to my mind is that I've definitely learned that there's a million ways to collect hockey cards, but there's no one right way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think if you follow the hobby, especially on social media, you hear opinions from maybe the loudest voices or largest platforms and that kind of make you feel like, well, this is the way it should be done, or this is the best, or this is,
Yeah.
and to be clear, like I'm pointing the finger at us too. Like we've been vocal with our own
Yeah.
opinions, and maybe you cool sticker autos, or you don't care about manufactured patches, like things that we've harped on a little bit. And I just get back to the point being that there's no right or wrong way to collect. Collect the cards that you like and the players you love. Not everyone in the hobby has to have a Connor McDavid PC to be in the hobby
Hmm.
and enjoy it. And one of the things too that I've really enjoyed over this last 18 months is kind of getting to meet people that have these like big collections of
Hmm.
players I would never think of collecting, right? Maybe because I'm not a Columbus Blue Jackets fan or a uh, Winnipeg fan or something like that, and they just have people have amazing collections
Yeah.
of these players that, and in a way, boy, I don't know if I want to say this because I don't want it to come off wrong, but in those cases, like you kind of know that people really do it for the love of collecting
Hmm.
and not for maybe trying to have the biggest portfolio value of
Yeah.
hockey cards, right? Because there's not like huge markets for for some of these players that people love in PC. And then, even in my like my own you're much more so like you have your guys like Pecorine that you like. And
Yep.
I mean he's got a decent hobby market, but not a huge one. And
No.
I've kind of
Yeah.
started collecting Scotty Prunovich, who has made it onto the rookie scoring leaderboard. I just want to say, but he's from my hometown and not ever probably going to have a big hobby market. And yeah, I just think that maybe too often it comes off in the hobby that this is the way, this is right, and any other way is wrong. Does that make sense to you?
Makes complete sense to me. We've kind of I've it's you see some of the stuff out there and hey, just kind of move on. I've learned to move on. I know what I like and I know how I collect and I'm gonna keep doing that. And sometimes you just gotta get
Yeah.
past all that.
Yeah, and so like if I'm gonna like summarize like how I've tried to internalize this for myself and really become my own better person, it's okay to have opinions and it's okay to voice them, but don't judge anyone else for what they like,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Because your opinion is just an opinion. That's all it is. Uh, okay, so that's the first thing I
Including
thought.
ours. Ours is
Yeah,
just an
including ours,
opinion
of
that's
course. Yeah,
mainly wrong. But
probably. Second one's a big one for me that I think I personally experienced at times, and then I've seen, and I think is maybe the biggest potential downside of the hobby
yep.
is that spending can get out of control and quickly.
Yep.
Because the hobby is very addicting,
Yep.
right? And like I said, I've experienced at times myself where I've looked at like my credit card statement for a month and been like, "Holy cow!" You know,
Mhm.
um, didn't know I spent that much. And through those experiences, I've learned to pump the brakes a little bit and uh, you know, check myself, I guess, in that regard. But whether you're a break, you like to break, or you buy boxes or singles, the pull is very real. And there's this
Yep.
like lottery fantasy that comes with this hobby, right? It's like, oh man, if I could just pull a Gretzky auto, I could triple the value out of the box that I just bought, or these breaking apps make it so easy to just enter break after break after break, and
That's
it's
where I was gonna
fun.
go. I just wrote a note like easy. It's so easy to buy cards in different ways, e-pack, online, marketplaces, breaking apps. It is so easy, and they make it easy for a reason. But
Oh,
that's the
breaks
one
are
that,
fun.
yeah. But that's one that jumped in my head when you talk about spending and how it can get out of control. It's just because it's easy. It's easy to buy.
Yeah. And who doesn't like doing that? And you can it's kind of the whole problem with credit cards too, right? Is
Yeah,
that it's like the money isn't real almost when you're just like, oh, just hit the button. Right. It's
yeah,
not real until you get the bill, and then, then
yeah,
it becomes very real, unfortunately, for a lot of people. Um and again, when we talk about like spending too much or spending a lot, that's really relative to your financial situation or your
yep,
financial goals. But we have heard from a number of people that have kind of
yep.
gotten caught up and regretted what they've spent to some
Hmm.
extent, and had to check themselves. And my fear on this is that it's a thing that it's a risk to lead people out of the hobby. Like if people can't, like they feel like, oh, I
Yep,
can't control myself enough, or you get swept up in in the moment. And like when you the more you're in the hobby, I think the less like you tend to get caught up in stuff, right?
yeah,
Because you've kind of been through everything. But I remember as we were getting back into collecting a few years ago that, oh, I wanted everything,
yeah,
right? And everything was so exciting, everything was so new, and you just kind of buy, and then you kind of learn your lessons through
yep,
making spending mistakes. And I just hope that isn't an issue that kind of causes people to get in and
yeah,
out pretty quickly. Um, so I don't know what you do about that. I think everyone has to kind of come up with their own plan. But what I try to do is, if I try to put a lot more thought in how I want to build my collection, I keep track of what I'm spending. I set limits,
yeah,
and knowing that, and then I've just kind of resisted. I've kind of learned my lesson that as fun as doing some stuff is, that um it's just kind of you don't really get a lot out of it. And I think too we've learned a lot like through our pack opening videos. Like we buy
yeah,
those boxes for the show, and I maybe lucky in some regard that we get to satiate sort of that
yeah,
idea of opening boxes, because we use it as it's basically a production cost, right, to
yeah,
produce content. But you learn through that as fun as opening boxes is, and I think you and I both really, really like to do it. You're not making your money back by any stretch.
yeah.
And for
Nope.
every rare occasion where you hit that $1,000 card, you get creamed box after box
Yeah,
after
box
box.
after box after box. I was thinking too when you were talking about people getting caught up and driving people out of the hobby. The one thing that's really hard with sports cards is think about sports betting. If I get out of control with sports betting, theoretically, I can ban myself from the apps, right? I can say, I don't want to, take me off your list or put me on a do not whatever serve list, or I don't know what they call it now. Sports betting or with hockey cards, it's a lot harder. I don't even know if Whatnot has something like that, but eBay, I don't know if you can put my name on a list to stop buying on eBay or something. It just seems it's a lot easier on like some other routes where you can spend a lot of money, but it's like anything, any collection, any hobby, you're gonna have this issue. It is personal control. And if you get out of hand, you've got to recognize it or you got to talk to someone and figure out how to get yourself back on track. And like you said, we've had people reach out to us and kind of share their stories, which is I hope it helps them. I hope it's therapeutic. And I really like reading that some people have recognized they were getting out of hand and here's what their steps they're taking to kind of right the ship.
Well, don't they say, like, when you admit to somebody you have a problem, that it really kind of is a way for
Yeah.
gets you to accept the fact
Yep.
that, okay, this is something I gotta work on. And so I
Yep.
think that's an important step for people. Yeah, I don't wanna make it seem like we're just saying that, like, whether it be, like, opening up boxes or participating in breaks is it's just as easy on eBay
Yeah.
to sit and bid on 50 auctions, and then you win
Yep.
20 of them, and you're like, "Oh god, I just spent $2,000 buying
Yep.
singles too." So it's all rigged to feel like it's easy
Yep.
and fun. But Yeah, so I've learned that you really have to have a spending plan, especially knowing how exciting and cool all these cards are, and how addicting it can be. All right, so the next thing I thought of is that uh, it's the hobby's not simple. It's
No.
actually pretty complicated, which makes a show like ours possible. I mean, if you think about, gosh, we do 4 hours a week, and there's never not anything to talk about,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of awesome, and it comes down to there's just an incredible amount of nuance that exists in the hobby, and that's really too. We don't reiterate it often, but the whole point of this show from the beginning has been it's two guys that want to learn more about the hockey hobby, and we just take you along for the ride,
Yep.
right? And so I love to learn and I love to understand things better, and so it makes it exciting from that regard because every single day we learn something new. And while that makes it interesting, I can't help but think it's a big barrier
Yep.
for entry for new collectors. And in a very tiny way, again, that goes back to our show. It's like our hope is that we bring up these topics or anything we talk about maybe helps people learn the hobby a little faster than if you had to go through the school of hard knocks. But and I've actually been thinking about lately, Troy, too. It's like, how could there be a better resource for new collectors?
Yeah.
Like, and I don't even know
Mm.
if this is like I kind of talked myself out of this, but one thing I was thinking about is like, could we partner with people and like try to start like a wiki for the hockey hobby that's maintained by the hobby and police, but you'd have to have so much. Those only
Yeah. That.
work if you have crazy level of participation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they fall flat on their face. Wouldn't it be nice though if there was like a Wikipedia for the hockey hobby where somebody could go look up anything that they wanted to know and or some other resource like that? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I know there's just bits and pieces everywhere. I was gonna say part of the impetus of Hockey Cards 101 and Masterclass was this exact reason, is trying to
Mhm.
help and bring in experts. Now, obviously, we don't have this all-inclusive wiki. I think you're probably right in talking yourself out of that. But
Yeah.
there's a mailbag question later that talks about a specific kind of card and an image on it. But I went down a rabbit hole. I mean, I went through like 40 years of releases and I'm still 30 years left to look at it. I didn't even get all the way through, but then I started looking at all the different, like, I like goalie cards, all the different goalie sets. I was like, is there a one-stop shop where you say, I want to know every insert set that is goalie focused? And I don't know if there is. I looked for 1 minute. I didn't even look that deep, but I was like, well, maybe I should create something and just write them all down or something. But I was like, it would be fun. It would be cool, but it would take a while.
There's just too many. Like I found that in most cases, the information is out there. It just takes a long time to
You got to
learn. Oh, I
find
got
it.
to go to TCDB for this, and I got to
Yep.
go to look up the checklist for that, or
Yep.
130 point for something like this. It's like 12 sources or something like that
Yeah.
that you have to just know. And so if somebody's coming in new to the hobby, it's like, how the heck are they supposed to? And maybe we just need to make a list on our website or something like that of,
Yeah.
here's the resources we look at for what. But yeah, it's just I wish that there was some. I like I said, I think that the nuance and the complexity is what keeps it interesting. But it's just such a huge learning curve for people
Hmm.
to overcome in order to, I think, really get hooked by the hobby.
Agree.
So the next thing that kind of resonated with me, and as far as lesson learned, is keeping up with the Joneses, Troy. And I really think that it's kind of a losing game
Hmm.
and a losing approach to the hobby. And I'll admit too, it's like we do not have like the biggest PCs out there. We don't have
No.
$500,000 cards, and here we're a pretty large hockey card podcast, and so in some way you can feel a little bit like an imposter maybe if you really kind of let that keeping up with the Jones mentality get
Hmm.
to you. And so like this is something I really had to think about myself and really come to terms with, that it's okay that I don't have like the world's greatest collection. Some people have tons of money and they
Yep.
buy their way into that.
Yep.
Other people have collected for a long time, and they bought cards for $10 that are worth $10,000 today,
Yep.
and kudos to them. And then
Yeah.
there's other people that are just really really good at buying, are savvy buyers, and
Yep.
maybe there's people that are all three, right? And that's why they have the collections that you do. And it kind of made me think of something my dad told me a long time ago when I was a kid, probably like, like kids often do. Oh, I wish I could live in a mansion or something like that. And what he said to me is that remember, every time you drive by somebody's house and you think to yourself, man, I wish that was my house, that at that exact time, somebody's probably driving by your house thinking the exact
Mhm.
same thing. Right. And it's just such a, trying to compare your own collection to other people or maybe to feel inferior if you don't have cards. Is ultimately collecting is a very personal thing. And we all love to show off our collections and show
Yeah.
off our pickups and what we get. But the more you can resist, I think, kind of comparing yours to anybody else's, or uh, maybe the happier you'll be.
What
Has
I
this,
think,
have you had to think about this at all yourself?
not really. This is one I actually have been really good at. I'm very set on, I know what I like and I know what I want, and I just go that route. But my takeaway from all this is that you're pretty jealous of my Pecorine collection, is what I'm hearing. But no, it's a great point. It's, again, it gets back into that getting kind of tied up in all this stuff. But again, you don't have to. You don't have to. But it's awesome going and seeing these collections, I'll tell you that, and looking at them at card shows and seeing, like, at Toronto, there's so many awesome collections, and I love looking at them. It's just I'm not going to have the $1 million collection. I know that.
Yeah, yeah, and that you don't have, and that's not like a requirement to
Yep.
enjoy the hobby, or it's not a contest, right? It's collect what
Yep.
you love and enjoy, and part of it is the chase and finding something that you really like and enjoy. It's like me getting my stupid Wayne Gretzky Glow PG, right?
Yep. Yep.
It'll never be $1 million card, of course, but um just learning about that set and knowing it was hard to find and hunting for it and having a goal, it just made it was a kind of a really rewarding experience in
Hmm.
that regard. And so, that's something that's really treasured, right? And
Yep.
I'm okay knowing I'm not going to have probably ever a McDavid, Shield rookie 101
Yep.
card or something.
Yep.
The next one we talked about quite a bit, but it's
Yep.
worth mentioning again is, the biggest lesson learned is find your hobby people. It's honestly what makes the hobby, I think, special. I was listening to our good buddy Neil, who we talked about already today, IFC. He was on his another podcast a week or so ago, maybe called Cousins Collectibles, and he was recounting his experience, Troy, from the Fall Sport
Hmm.
Card Expo in Toronto, and they had asked him about going back, and what he said, and this resonated so much with me because I feel the exact same way. Is he said he could go back to the expo, spend the whole week there, not buy a single card, come back with nothing new, and have just the best time.
Yep.
And I feel, I mean, we've had that experience so much
Yep.
at the show where it's like the whole day goes by and it's like I haven't looked at a hockey card, but I've had the
Yep.
best time and I've
Just
talked to
talking.
people
Yep.
all day, and it's just one example of how I think the cards are awesome, of course, and that's the draw for all of us and the connection to the game. But it's the people that really make it great. And it doesn't mean you have to go to the expo to have that, or whether you can, like you and I mean, we're doing the show because we were friends and we had this common interest and connected over that, or other people do it through social media. Sometimes it's by hanging out at a local card shop or recognizing people at your monthly card show. My best advice is to put yourself out there a little bit. And I think, like, for us in particular, this show kind of, it's probably not in either of our natural tendency to do so. And by doing the show, it's forced us to do
Yeah.
that more than we ever would. And I think we've been rewarded for taking that, getting out of our shells a little bit.
Yep.
And it's we've developed a lot of great friendships. And so it's the cards and the people that make the hobby amazing. And then the last thing I have before we get to your list is, I kind of feel like obligatory, you have to throw, well, what have we learned about if the goal is to make money in the hobby? And so I try to be very succinct. And I'm curious if you're going to agree or disagree with me in this, but because I think there's a lot of opinions you could have on it. First of all, is that there's a number of ways people do it. Like we've seen people that have like very niche specialties and they just like make piles of money doing it, and they do in their own kind of way that some people just have a knack for making money and other people don't. But yeah, th- th- if I had to like, if somebody asked me like, well, how do you make money in sports cards? Like maybe somebody that isn't in the hobby, Troy. Here's the way that I would put it: is I would say you can make good money with by prospecting if it's in the short term. If you're buying and selling quickly and right away, and if you want to build long term, if you're looking for long term value potential, it's you buy goats and the best cards. You learn the cards that the hobby has kind of the majority of the hobby says, like the limited logos or the cup RPAs or the seismic golds, right? That these are the cards that we value the most, and you buy the goats there. And so like I think the implications of that are, prospecting is fun and exciting, but very, very, very few ever pan out over the long term. And we see
Yep.
so many people that go just huge on these. The people that spend $10,000 on a Trevor Zegras card, that's super risky. I like him too.
Yeah.
I'm not. It's not a knock on him, but it's super risky
Yep.
at this point. And then the flip side is, not every Wayne Gretzky auto is created equal either.
Yep.
Right, and so you gotta learn, and I think you can make money prospecting, but it has to be very short term. The goal is to get in and out of cards as fast as possible and make your margin that way, and then but if you want to look over the long term, and the GOATs gets a little boring because the list isn't that big. That's the other thing that's kind of
Yeah.
surprising is that, like the most bankable, the Gretzky, Lemieux, Yager, Gordie Howe, Maurice Richard, it's like 12 guys. Right? It's not you don't have 1,000 players to choose from.
Yeah.
So, um, you know, that's the way I would answer the question today of how to make money in the hobby.
Yeah. And I think before that, even when we first got into it, you always heard sealed wax. Buy wax, throw it in a closet, don't look at it again in 5 years. But I wonder how much of that was out of just pandemic, like wax going through the roof. People that did buy 5 years ago before that make a ton of money. I would love to do the 5K challenge with sealed cases and see where not whatever it'd have to be like the $100,000 challenge or something, and just buy one case or 5 cases of each product fictitiously, and then see
Yeah.
where they're at a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Well, where we got kind of screwed in the pandemic was it coincided with our own. Well, we knew nothing, so there's that. But it was also we had the rookie card of our first ever Minnesota Wild
Oh
superstar come
yeah,
out
yeah,
in
yeah,
Kirill
yeah, yeah.
Kaprizov, and I don't know if you remember, but any Kaprizov card at that time
Yes,
was like a minimum of $30. It could have been a
yes,
rookie class insert in flagship,
yeah,
and
like
we had
UD
no
portrait or
idea.
something. Yeah,
It's like, ooh, Kaprizov rookie, bid, 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 bid. Right? I have like
yep,
hundreds of these rookies that I wasted so much money on because I didn't know. And it was at that kind of crazy once in a lifetime period in the hobby where if it was the right player, any card was selling for crazy money. But yeah,
yep,
but when you now a few years later, you learn that it's you know, you have to be much more tactical or surgical about how you go about and find a groove and try to make money that way.
yep.
So that was my lessons learned. You have some other ones that you wanted to cover,
Yeah,
so let's roll through
mine are
those.
just quick, very quick. You did a ton of research, a ton of explaining. Mine are pretty quick, and some of mine bleed into things we've already talked
Yeah,
about. First one I put because I was thinking too about the invest or the money part and the investing and the value. It's like to me, comps are just kind of a mess, and that's what I've learned after 150 episodes. They should not be taken as an absolute. They're one data point. You have to do your research on comps. You can't just see one price on eBay or whatever and think that's it. We've talked about 100 times the whole Terapeak thing and how to find
yeah.
confirmed sales and looking at different sources like Card Ladder, Market Movers. There's just a bunch of stuff out there. They're
It's a
all
big
kind of a
threat,
mess. Yeah.
I think, and the cards that like really I found are starting to be manipulated the most are like a Young Guns exclusives is a perfect card to do it because
Yeah.
it's rare enough in that there's 100
Yeah.
where it makes a different. There's like the volume of base Young Guns
Yeah.
is so high, it's hard to manipulate it too much through one comp because there's going to be legitimate sales that replace it right away. But
Yep.
when you look at like whether it be like a Draisaitl exclusives or Mitch Marner or something like that, you'll see that these repeated manipulations of those, because there's typically always one at least up for sale, like with a
Yeah.
buy it now or whatnot. But there'll be 4 quote unquote sales in a row that were never paid for,
Yep.
where they're progressively trying to establish that this is the higher bar
Yep.
for this card, and it's all BS.
Yep.
It's not real.
Yep. I mean, that was a huge eye opener for me and you, I bet.
Oh yeah.
Second lesson learned. I love wax. I love it so much. I love ripping wax, but singles is the way to go. At the end of the day, buy singles. Rip wax when you can. I guess to itch it. And if you can afford it, don't get too crazy. But I do. I love ripping wax, but I know singles is the way to go.
Well, I was thinking about that too. Like, how many boxes between the two of us have we bought of SP Signature Edition Legends at this point? And could we have just bought a Wayne
I
Gretzky
know.
all-time future watch out?
No, easily. Yes, we could have. But
I mean, it's
I
just
like
like,
the other
how dumb
cards.
are we?
I got my Rick Vive auto. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah. Who wants a Wayne Gretzky all-time future watch? You can have your $12
Yeah.
Rick Vive bottle out of a $200
Yeah.
box.
This one we talked about. People are really passionate. And when I wrote this note, I was thinking like the whole grading stuff. Like when we started our show, and I don't know if I've seen it so much recently, but when we talked about grading,
Oh God.
people would jump on us and be like, or just jump on each other in the comment section of the Instagram post, and well, PSA, BG, all this stuff. And right there and there, you learn really grading was the one thing where I learned really quick people are passionate. And then finding the Mitch Grotmans, Jeremy Lees, when you start talking about just like Parkhurst and these specific sets, and you get all these knowledgeable experts and see their passion on different pieces of the hobby, you learn people are really passionate. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole grading thing, I wonder if it's because there really isn't like it doesn't feel like there's like a legitimate like mono. There's no like if PSA is Coke, there's no Pepsi right now.
Yeah, it's kind of a free for all at the end. But
It's like
I think the passionate
Abs
thing
and
too is
RC
just
Colas.
yeah. I think the passionate too about the grading, it just comes into if you have all your slabs in PSA, you're so tied into them. Like you want them to be the king, and you'll probably have to defend them to keep your values up if that's what you're interested in doing.
Well,
But yeah,
that's a whole like, will somebody ever overtake PSA? It's like
yeah,
maybe, but think
maybe.
how much money will be lost if that happens in collection.
Yeah, agree. All right, my fourth lesson learned. It is okay not to know everything. And I think we proved that many times. And again, like you said, that was kind of the basis for our show. We're going to go on a learning journey and see what comes up. If you don't, and you got to be comfortable researching, finding others, reaching out. Other people have a lot more knowledge on certain things than you do, and you have to not be afraid to ask around or do some research and look for that stuff. I always go back to the master classes and the Hockey Cards 101. Like when you brought those ideas up, that was exactly the impetus for it. It's like, we don't know, we're not the experts on this. Let's find someone that is, talk to them, and then this will also help new collectors. So I just wrote that down. It's okay not to know everything.
Yeah, the biggest gift we gave ourselves was coming into this basically declaring that we know nothing.
Yeah.
Because if we try, I think that there's a part of people that, well, if you're going to try to be a show, that you should be the expert. And had we, well, we would have had to fake it, but we would have been so inauthentic, and we would have fallen flat on our face almost instantly because
Yeah.
we could have pulled it off. We didn't know, but, and there's so much, I think it's so much more comfortable not having to live up to being the expert in something, right? It gives ourselves license to make mistakes. And then,
Yeah.
I really believe too that I don't have a real smooth way of saying it or remember the old adage, but everyone's heard it, right? Where it's something like to the effect of, the minute you think you know everything about something or declare yourself an expert, what you're really communicating is how little you actually know, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
life is a journey of learning,
Yeah.
and true experts are always acknowledging how little they actually know, and
Yeah.
seeking more and more, because when you decide you know everything, you kind of shut off that learning
Yep.
part of your brain.
Yep. I agree 100%. And then my last one, this was kind of a convoluted thought, but I just wrote it down. I said, like, in all areas of life and business, there are bad actors out there. You will run into them at some point. You have to figure out how to handle it and how to avoid it. And I always think about like fake patches and all this stuff that comes out, non-payment on selling stuff. You're gonna have bad experiences. However, the positive side of the experiences will far outweigh the bad stuff. But you got to realize you're probably going to run into some bad stuff for people not, like I said, people not paying fake cards. It's part of the hobby. It stinks that it's part of it, but it's one of those things that it's life and you have to deal with it. So that was
Yeah,
mine.
I think that's a great point. I really like that because it's unavoidable, but
Yep.
you're right. It's a small minority of the occurrences that happen, and if you can just learn to let things go or to focus on the positive side, I guess that
Yep.
you'll have a much more enjoyable time in the hobby. Well, I hope
Yep.
that that was beneficial for
Yeah.
everyone. We're gonna keep learning here, and it'll be interesting at like 200, 250 shows how this changes it all. Sometimes I've been
What
enjoying
if
more and more looking back at some of this stuff and realizing how stupid we were 6 months prior.
what if on 250 I'm just like, I'm an expert. I'm an expert.
I
And
know
then
it
you're like,
all.
you're immediately
Drop the
fired.
mic.
I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Drop the mic. Yeah. I doubt that will happen.
No, I highly doubt that. I know it won't.
Okay. Okay, we normally talk about new product releases, but honestly, Troy, there's not really anything going
Nope.
on and nothing to report.
Deep breath. I'll be
2022-23 Ice comes out on Friday. Troy's favorite logo. He can't wait for that. So it's not one of these Friday. Personally, I like a Wednesday release better,
Mm,
but
yeah.
at least for our show, thanks,
Yeah.
Upper Deck. Um, but yeah, so next Monday we'll talk about that. Before we get into mailbag, just need to mention our sponsor, PWCC, and communicate how grateful we are again for their support. The current PWCC weekly auctions live. You can head to pwccmarketplace.com, check out all the hockey cards in this week's weekly auction. We'll have our favorite vintage and modern picks from the auction on Thursday show, like we always do. And then I'll be joining Jeremy Lee this upcoming Sunday at 8:30 Central Time on Jeremy's YouTube channel, Sports Cards Live, for our hockey watch party, where we cover the end of the PWCC Weekly and all the great hockey card auctions that are ending there. Love mucking it up with everyone in the chat, so that's fun. Hope to see you all there. A couple other quick notes: the January premiere auction starts this Thursday. I always can't wait to see what hockey cards are in there. Jeremy had that huge sale that we
Yeah.
just for his blue McDavid PMG rookie in last month's auction. So there's always some great ones there as well. And then, of course, there's always the fixed price marketplace that you can check out again on pwccmarketplace.com. Another great mailbag, a big one, Troy. So we're gonna
Yeah.
have to kind of
Lots of stuff.
motor through these as quick as we can. Okay, first question from Instagram, Card Professor 7. Great one. He said that he was looking at some YouTube content creators and they were stating the card ladder hockey index is down for 2023. He's wondering what are its components and what does it mean? Very complicated question to answer. So, uh, Troy, you kind of, if you think I'm leaving out some stuff, fill in the gaps here. So, the card ladder hockey index works like all other indexes, right? Think of it like a stock index. It's made up of a curated list of cards that Card Ladder has picked to represent the hockey hobby as a whole, and then they track the cumulative values of those cards. And then the goal, of course, is to give a general sense whether the market is growing or shrinking in value. Now, when it comes to the Card Ladder Index in particular, there's some pretty big holes in it.
Hmm.
They're not hockey people, right? I think like Chris McGill is a basketball collector, and I don't know if they give it a lot of attention. So it's like some examples of that are they haven't added a lot of the more recent cards or sets. So even like Young Guns, I think there's a handful of 2021 Young Guns, but nothing more recent than that. So you can't even judge hardly by the most recent rookie classes what the market is doing. There's a lot of like if you look at cards that make up their index, there's some like, well, why is that card in there? There's some huge, there's like, for instance, there's not like a Rocket Richard rookie in their index from vintage. And so there's some kind of big holes in that regard. So it's incomplete. It's not, I don't think, a huge focus of theirs, and that's why it's incomplete. So for that, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it is a tool that you can use to generally see, like, is the arc market going up or down? right? I just don't think you can take the as an absolute. So if their index is saying the hockey market's down 10%, I don't know if that means that the market is truly down 10%, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I'll add a couple points. So when we say like the newer stuff isn't in there, that's in their ladder, like the actively tracked stuff. Now
Yeah.
that you can always go to sales history, and they have by far the most complete sales history stuff, and you can find anything through like 20 different sources on that. Again, so that's one of the pieces. And I know I was just trying to look for it. I remember at one point I did find, I believe it was a white paper that they put out on exactly like going into the really nitty gritty details on how these indexes are created. And that had a lot of really good information. I couldn't find it when I was just looking for it, but
Yeah,
that is out there somewhere.
I remember that too. It's a hard
Yeah.
thing to do because you have to pick cards that have enough volume. Like if
Yep.
you say like some 101 card should be in the index and it sells every 7 years,
Yeah.
it doesn't give you an indication like how the market is moving. And that's why to some degree young guns are a good tool to do that. And
Yep.
it's a bummer they don't have the more recent ones, but yeah.
Yeah, and when I was thinking about card ladder and the hockey index, to me it's a directionally accurate data point, right? Like you said, it's not absolute, but it's directional. It will give you an
Sure.
idea of where things are going. But again, you're gonna have to use other data sources and verify what they're showing or refute it.
And there's really no way to know in general too, because who, any of these tools can only track public sales data.
Yep.
And there's the whole card shows and,
Yep.
you know, local card shop sales or social media deals people do with each other that aren't tracked that
Yep.
so like you put it the best. It's very directionally informative.
Yep.
Okay, next question. Instagram, nonstop collectibles. Will these mess with Young Guns save searches on eBay? So do you have the photo here, Troy? Yeah, what he's showing is I think a Goodwin's Champions Upper Deck used the Young Guns design from last year for other athletes, right? That are non-licensed, so like baseball players or tennis players, football players, etc. And so if you have Young Guns safe searches on eBay, you might start to see like a CJ Stroud or something like that in there. Um, yeah, and now the reason why to me, I think that's a temporary issue, but the more interesting thing to me here is, do you like Troy Upper Deck doing this with their Young Guns design?
So I'm giving my not impressed face. This
Yeah.
drives
Ooh,
me
I'm
up
not
a
impressed.
wall.
I
Yeah,
hate it
this
too.
drives me up a wall. I'm not a fan at all. However, I did write a note. Am I gatekeeping the hockey hobby, Josh? Because, or am I a hypocrite? Because guess what? We all like you really like exquisite hockey. Those weren't hockey cards. Those started
Oh,
right
limited
at
logos. Yeah, it was all
those
pre-hockey.
started out as other stuff. So am I being a
Basketball.
hypocrite by saying, well, why can't they use it on others? But it's just like to me, Young Guns is just so synonymous with hockey that I don't know why you would move it to a different unlicensed thing. It's just I don't like it. Again, it's Upper Deck. It's their branding. They can do what they want. I just don't like it.
Feels kind of gimmicky to me,
Yeah,
but
maybe I'm a hypocrite, but
you've been called worse, Troy.
yeah, I've been called a lot worse.
All right, next question. Discord, Faustables666. With the Professional Women's Hockey League season now kicked off, what's the impact on the hobby? New sets to come, sweet inaugural season chase cards, more collectors entering the hobby. I know my daughter and I will be buying PWHL cards when they come out. All right, I'll go first, Troy, and then I'll let you
All
chime in
right.
because I know you'll have a lot to say about this. I really hope we start to see
Yep.
sets. We haven't talked Upper Deck about the PWHL. Um, And but I just want to make like a general comment about the league, and I'll let you talk maybe more about the cards. What I really hope the NHL does is take a long-term approach to this and really invest into the league. I think a great model is the WNBA, and I can't remember exactly, but if you look it up, the NBA lost a lot of money for two
Yeah.
decades
Hmm.
on the league, but they committed to it, and it's become an amazing league, and it's become a big deal in women's sports. And you have to give the NBA a lot of credit for not just thinking immediate ROI and taking a long-term approach to it. And I think that that's sort of like the benchmark, right? it just makes me feel like that we would kind of have the same issue with the PWHL, that for it to be successful, not just for a year or two, but to be like a long term, like constant and important and institution, right, in women's sports. That I hope the NHL is willing to invest in it for however long it takes, because I think it's important. We both have girls that have played hockey. You coach girls hockey. They need to. Well, it's like even on your team, right? You coach the head coach of your high school team. Um, is a very accomplished women's hockey player, played for the Golden Gophers. That's super important
Yeah.
for a girls hockey player to, where a lot of girls teams are coached by men,
Yeah.
but for them to have a female role model that's played at the highest level of the game is important. I think in the same vein, to have a professional women's league that our girls can look up to, and that these can be their role models, is a really important thing.
Yeah. So I got lots of thoughts on this. So I agree with you 100% with the NHL and investing. Now, right now, the NHL is doing no financial investing in the league. They're doing operational, logistical support and letting them use the arenas. So I hope and eventually some point they do put the financial piece in.
They
But right
have to.
now, they have to. I hope they do. But right now, they're kind of taking a sit back approach. And obviously, we had the first Minnesota game, which set an attendance record for, I think, the highest attendance ever at a women's
Women,
professional hockey game. You can't say women's game because I think a college game once had an outdoor of like it's 50,000 or
it was
something.
like 13,500 at the
Yeah.
Xcel Energy Center.
So that was huge. Again, it's a home opener, first game of the league for Minnesota. But I really hope the NHL does take the financial piece and help the league. I don't know if they're sitting back seeing how everything runs this first season, but we'll see. And again, with the whole PWHL, yes, I hope there are sets on the horizon. I just was thinking, like, I would love to be able to PC players that actually coached in high school if they actually had hockey cards. That'd be awesome. And like you said, we don't know. We haven't talked to Upper Deck about PWHL. We do know that Upper Deck had that agreement with the PHF, which is kind of a predecessor to the PWHL. Who knows? There was a whole bunch of stuff that went on with that. So they've definitely, Upper Deck's been in the realm of women's hockey. We'll see what happens with PWHL going forward. I'm hoping they do something. I think it'll be awesome. But yes, I can't wait. I hope cards come out. But yeah, there's a lot needs to go right for this league to be successful. I mean,
And Upper Deck
I
did
would,
put women's hockey cards in like the Tim Hortons sets and the
yeah,
Team Canada for
yeah, Team
2023,
Canada,
so that's
yeah,
good too.
yeah. So it's good that this league too has actual financial backing from a billionaire. Like I think it's the Dodgers owner, put up a significant chunk of money, and Billie Jean King was a big backer. So they got some stuff going for them, but success is not guaranteed for for this league. I'll tell you that.
And well, there is a monetary value, of course, to letting use arenas, but I wish the NHL was a little bit stronger still in,
Yeah,
just saying, hey, we're gonna see this through. We know it's gonna lose money for a while, but we think it's important for the game and as stewards of the game to really commit to creating a viable long-term professional league for women. So,
yeah.
uh,
Well, the guy that Dodgers owner, he was huge. I think he might still own the Sparks, the WNBA team. So
okay.
he's got the background. So that's good. But again, whatever the NHL can do financially, advertising, get the message out there would be great.
All right, next question. Discord, Sweet Card Bro. Top somehow does NHL stickers, I imagine because sticker license is different than a card license, but does Fanatics buying up everything under the sun other than Upper Deck mean anything for Topps hockey, cards, stickers, stuff going forward? Yeah, so Topps has had the NHL stickers for a while
Mm-hmm.
and way before Fanatics bought them. I'm sure, remember Fanatics is, as of next season, 2024-25, will be the official jersey manufacturer in the um, for the NHL, and so that's their mode, is to
Mm-hmm.
do anything and everything, and it'll be interesting to see how long they kind of keep, or Upper Deck keeps them away from the hockey cards license, I
Yeah.
guess. Anything to add to that?
No, I used to be huge into stickers when I was a kid, but then I've kind of fallen off of them.
Yeah. Next question, Discord Rally SC. Is there any chance Upper Deck discontinues the majority of the remaining 2022-23 products? This is a great opportunity to get back on track from COVID and make the 2023-24 products a priority. Get collectors and investors what they really want. 2022-23 class is proving to be junk anyway and is creating very little buzz. So I don't know. I totally get where you're coming from. The one thing I think about though, if they did this, is what happens when one of these guys, like hopefully like Matt Boldy or Marco Rossi, like speaking selfishly here, but any of
Yeah.
them, or Wyatt Johnston or something like that, would turn out to be a major star, like have a huge breakthrough moment 2 years from now, then you wouldn't have a bunch of these sets, and everyone would be freaking out about that too. But yeah, it's not a lot. It's not very exciting as these sets come out, knowing it's like 2022-23 ice, right? It's like,
Yeah.
man, we're on the heels of Series 2, and it's kind of tough to get real amped up about it. What do you think, Troy?
Yeah, I don't. I it's a great question, and I my first answer was I don't know, but I guess a lot of these sets are probably all a lot designed, or they're all designed. I gotta believe, and logistically, they're probably in process or in the middle of them, and they probably maybe can't
Or
cancel
sit
them
on a
for
boat or in a warehouse already? Yeah.
for financial reasons. I don't think they will. Now, I've been on record saying I do think Upper Deck needs to cull a couple or just some of the sets
Yeah.
because I think we have too many. But so that kind of ties into this a little bit, but I don't think really right now that they will do it with the 22-23 stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like it'll be maybe like a 2018 year where there's not a lot of big time names looking
Yeah.
back out of it. You never know. All right, next question from Instagram, Jboard. Do you think Connor Bedard draft day card will hold its value over time? Keep hearing with the young guns coming out, it will depreciate, but thought due to the scarcity, it would hold some value. Interested to hear your thoughts. You go first, Troy.
Yeah, this guy is just this. When I say this guy, I mean Bedard. It's just like I've always thought that it would lose value once the young guns come out, and then all of a sudden we just keep seeing these high sales. I don't know what it's doing recently. I haven't looked in the last week or two. And if he becomes a superstar, it's got to maybe it keeps going up. I don't know. There'll be a short term impact maybe from IR for like a day when a couple people overreact, but I think it will. I just don't know how much. That's my overall thought. That probably doesn't help very much, but
Well, had I maybe bought one of the PSA 10s at 10 grand, I'd be a
yeah.
little concerned
Yeah,
about
that I agree.
the long-term value at this point. If I'm looking back, like playing Monday morning quarterback on it, who knows how many there are, but I feel like there's more than we think.
That's a fantastic point. I agree. Yeah, I think there's more than we thought.
And if we knew there was like
short print,
yeah, if we knew there was like 20 of them or something like that, then I might feel differently about the long-term value. And so I would not be very confident in them. But then I always go back to with this kid being Bedard, that it's like I've just learned to expect the unexpected, and that
yeah,
just because something happened in the past doesn't necessarily mean it's a guarantee to happen in the
yeah.
future.
No, that's a great point. Great point.
All right, Instagram, the sports card journey. Will Brendan Smith's card values see a bump after Friday night? I don't think so. Do you?
No, they won't. But when I read this question at first, I forgot who the guy was that hit Bedard, and so I had to go started looking up, and I was like, oh, that guy. Then I was like, well, I hope not. I don't want guys that injure people to get bumping their card prices, but it's kind of funny. No, I do not think so.
You know what this question made me think about is the relative lack of Bedard backlash, which is kind of surprising.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember, like even like growing up when I was such a huge basketball fan and loved Michael Jordan, that there's always like the anti sort of crowd, right? That is like, oh, Clyde Drexler is better than Jordan, or you always have like these like debates on
yeah.
players, or even like the whole
You're
Austin Matthews.
contrarian. You just go the
Yeah, the
opposite way.
contrarian, right?
Yeah.
I haven't felt like that there is a lot of like the contrarian aspect to Bedard, right?
Yeah.
But you'd have to expect that will come at some point.
Yeah.
All right, Instagram, 86 collectibles hockey. If you could skate with one legend, dead or alive, who would it be? Great question.
You said,
All right,
I don't
Troy.
know why I just thought this. You said that dead or alive. I'm just dead. I'm thinking about them wheeling out the corpse and the way they go skating with your buddy. But no. So my first thing is Pekka Rinne considered a legend. I will say he's not probably for this question. I'm guessing that's not what the
Yeah.
person was thinking of. So I will not go Pekka. And I was thinking about this. I was like, way too much thought in this. Like, well, I really want a goalie. And I was like, Patrick Waugh would be probably pretty fascinating. But then my mind just went right to Yager. This the guy just every time I read a story about him and how he's still playing, I think he would be fascinating to talk to.
Yeah. Would you rather skate with the legend or go to lunch with him?
Probably go to lunch.
I
But
think I would
skating
too.
would be fun too. Yager could just show me how bad I am at hockey, and he's 50, whatever.
Yeah. For me, it's tough not to say Gretzky, but if I could, and now he's not. I mean, well, I don't know. Is Kaprizov a Minnesota legend at this point? My daughter, if I could bring my daughter, she would flip
Oh
out
yeah,
because that's
there you
like
go.
her hockey world. So I would pick maybe that in
Would
that
she do
regard.
the awkward laugh though and not talk and just be
Probably.
embarrassed the whole time?
I think she thinks he's cute. So
Oh, there you
I'd have to fight Kaprizov. Great.
go.
All right. Instagram Pipes Buffalo. Do fantasy sports have an effect on card values? If so, would you capitalize on that, or how would you capitalize on that effect?
I think yeah, they do have. I think they have effect on values because I think fantasy sports help drive people into the hockey card hobby or any sports card hobby, whatever fantasy sports you're into, and vice versa. I think you can go the other way too, where uh, you collect hockey cards and maybe you start wanting to get into fantasy sports if you haven't already. So I think there's a connection between them. Now, how much or how big is it? I have no idea, but anecdotally, I would say yes.
Yeah, really hard to quantify. You'd have
Yeah,
to do a major study in that regard. Um, I think how you capitalize it is you just again, it's like the more you learn about this hobby, the more complicated it is in some regards, and maybe simple it is in other regards. It's like there's a handful of players that everyone gravitates to. It's McDavid, Ovechkin, Crosby,
yeah,
Matthews, Jack Hughes.
yeah.
There you go. Right.
I mean, one
You
way
know.
too. I mean, fantasy sports would give you like a really good sense of idea of like who's hot though, pretty quick on like
Oh
transaction
yeah.
wires and stuff like that. So that's one thing you could be looking at.
Yeah. If you're looking to maybe like know that, oh, here's like a prospect who I might
Yeah,
want to maybe list some of his cards because he's had a great 5 game run or something like
yeah.
that. That's actually a really good answer to the question. So great thought. All right, next question. Instagram, Shane K Cards. What do you feel were the top sets released in 2023 and which sets did Upper Deck miss the mark? Okay, Troy, you want to go first?
SP Signature Edition Legends was a home run, and I will stick to that. That's my one just awesome set. I love it. I was wondering when I thought about this, and miss the mark is so broad in general, but I was wondering, does 2020, 21 the cup fall in there with the kerfuffle over sticker autos with Kaprizov and Sorokin? Or is that such a little, like, whatever, 2% of that release that maybe it didn't miss the mark? It was just one kind of thing. I don't know. The miss the mark was hard. I was really hard. I was struggling. And then once I saw your answers, I'm like, well, duh. I should have remembered those. Especially,
Yeah.
I won't say them because I don't want to take yours. So you go and
No,
I'll
I mean, you
chime
can.
in.
Yeah, so the sets I really liked were again SB Signature Edition Legends. I really like 2022 23 Allure.
Yeah.
And so like when it
Yes.
comes to like because the question was Upper Deck centric and they don't control who the rookies are. They have some control over the auto stuff, but at the end of the day, if an athlete refuses to sign, what do they
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Right? And so I try to like think the best I could as to well what's in their purview. And I just think they killed it with that set. Now, if it had been a better rookie class, I think it would have done even better.
The
And then
cup. Is
I
that what
also
you're going with? The cup one?
the the allure.
Oh, Allure. Gotcha.
2022,
Gotcha.
23
Gotcha.
allure. Yeah, sorry if I
Gotcha.
wasn't specific. Um it, the base cards are amazing.
Yeah.
I just love everything or a lot about that set. Don't love the sticker autos, but it's a cheaper set, so it kind of
Yeah.
comes with it. And then I think they kind of nailed the new flagship configuration. It's hard to now there's a whole population count production
Yeah.
issue, but as far as like the strategy and concept of how they go about flagship now, I think they did great, in that regard. Where I missed the mark are were I didn't love and this is such a personal opinion, so take it with a
Yeah.
grain of salt, but the more I see the 2021-22 SP Authentic, just the design, of the future watches and some of the
Yeah.
other cards, I don't love that. And
Yeah.
so in my very subjective personal opinion, I think to me that missed the mark. Maybe more objectively, credentials and 2021 stature were big bummers because of all of the numerous rookie
Yeah.
auto issues they have. And then I've been a long time critic of the approach to SB game used
Yep.
because I think it's a missed opportunity in not living up to the game used name.
Yep. Agree.
All right, next question. Instagram, Kevin B. Smith. It feels like you can pull an auto in almost any set you choose to rip. However, with there being more love for on-card autos over stickers, can you give a quick rundown of which sets have on-cards versus stickers for us new collectors? I love getting new collector questions, so that's awesome. This is kind of complicated now because of the individual player issues Upper Deck
Yeah.
has had. So we can answer in general. So I think that traditionally sets like the Cup, SB Authentic, Premier, Ultimate, and OPG Platinum, the higher end kind of ones, will have on card autos. In addition to that, I think Credentials is typically on card. Ice is on card as well. Stature is on card. And then the lower price sets will have stickers. So that's like Trilogy, Allure, Synergy. Now there are a couple maybe medium range sets that have stickers. It's a bummer to me that Black Diamond. The Black Diamond is another set that kind of disappoints me.
Yeah.
In theory, I would like it more than when it comes out, right? Metal Universe has stickers. That's more of a mid-range set, and then Artifacts has stickers as well.
Yeah.
As far as SPX, I think those are stickers, and then maybe I miss. Oh, Game Used. Does Game Used
Yeah.
stickers or on card autos? Do you know?
I'm so bad at these. I'm trying to remember all these sets.
Sorry about Game Used.
Yeah, and then wasn't say too. It's like you brought up a huge point with the player issues, and so even though you say some of these sets, think about the Cup, I would tell you 100% Cups on card autos, go for it.
Oh.
But now we might have issues every once in a while, and any set can have that. If it's on card, they might have an issue and they have to do a sticker. It's just the way it is now.
Yeah, I think that you can't. There's no set you can at this point say 100% will have all on card autos.
Yep.
All right, next question. Instagram, Puckeye Hockey. Will the hobby care about the current rise of Kraken goalie Joey Decord? I don't know, Troy. I would love it for it. I'm rooting for the kid.
Yeah.
But it's like Aiden Hill kind of came from nowhere, and
Yep.
he doesn't have a lot of hobby love.
No.
Linus Allmark has had a couple really good years, and he doesn't have. Is it too late? Who are the superstar goalies right now that are currently playing?
Yeah.
Is there any of them? I don't know. The whole goalie thing in the hobby, other than like Marty Brodeur and Jacques Plante and
Yeah.
Patrick Waugh is, and Pekka Rinne, of course, is really, really hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, this is one of those where maybe like we've said, maybe in a short term, you can do, if he plays well, there's that short term window you have that maybe you can make a little bit, but I don't think there will be ever a huge hockey love for this guy.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Instagram, Taiwan on. Is there or has there ever been an insert that showcases goal celebrations? Would love to see a set like that. Matthews with the Jesus pose, Patty Kane with the heartbreaker, etc. Curious if there have ever been cards like that. So you did a bunch of research.
I did so much research, and I didn't even get it. I'm not done. Like I was saying, I started like at 1950 Parkhurst, went through everything to about 1998, and I was just wiped out. There's so many releases going to look at every insert set in these things, and we have. So there might I'm going to throw this out to the listeners. If anyone knows the answer to this question, I would love to hear it, love to get a response. But it's like there's cards around hat tricks, sharpshooters, snipers, scoring leaders, red light specials, scoring king, marksman, lamplighters, go top shelf, biscuit in the basket. I put biscuit in the bathroom. I think it's biscuit in the basket. 500 clubs. So there's all these ones. There's all these ones around scoring. But then I randomly clicked on 2005. It wasn't even next to my list, but there's an actual set called Goal Celebrations. It's an insert set, and I think
Oh
it's in
wow.
flagship. But then get back to his question where he's saying shows the actual pose like a goal celebration. Nope, these cards do not. They're just normal pics. Or pictures. They're not a goal celebration. So more research needs to be done. I have to believe there's cards out there that show the actual celebration. I don't know if there's a specific set or if it's just like a UD canvas card would have a celebration. To me, that seems like a great spot to have a goal celebration. But I don't know of any actual insert sets that actually focus around the actual celebration. That's where I'll leave it.
Well, good work. The one card that I remembered was the Allure City Selly card.
There you go. I would eventually found that, but there's one. What's it called?
But I don't. I'm sure that there are a number of attempts. I don't know if any of them have been big hits though, and maybe there have. That we're just like you said. There's so many. It's so hard to know. And for the love of everything holy, can one of you custom card makers please make a Troy Iverson biscuits in the bathroom card?
Oh, that's a t-shirt. That's a t-shirt right there.
Biscuits in the bathroom. All right, Facebook, Ward Zaharia. Do you agree or can justify PSA upcharging a customer after the fact if a card grades high? They don't own the card. They were paid for a service to give an opinion of the grade. If the card turns out to be a high grade and they feel entitled to charge for a portion of the perceived added value, if or when the hobby is back to 2007 levels of value, are they going to give that money back? I'm going to let you go off on this, Troy. The only thing I'll say is I've heard the justification being, and I think it's kind of a weak one in my personal opinion, is that the upcharge is kind of a part of like their insurance or guarantee that they have. I honestly don't know enough about it to understand the validity of that point. But then there's a very cynical side of me that thinks they just do it because they can. They're the 800-pound gorilla. They know that they have the most value and they do it to make money. But I'll pause and let you go to town.
I absolutely hate it. I hate it, and I think it's an absolute joke. And I think it's a money-making scheme, and it works. But to me, it's absolutely ridiculous that they do this. SGC, if I remember right, they don't think they do it. Now, how do they get around the insurance stuff, right? I don't think SGC has upcharges, so I'd be curious. I guess I should say there's maybe a business reason, but I don't like it from an optics view. When I first look at it and you read it and you see it, I don't like it. I think it's dumb.
It just goes back to the whole PSA. There's like 4,000 qualifiers every time.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it has to be like you have to submit 12 cards. It has to be submitted on a Wednesday. It has to be a modern card, but it can't be 2011 or 2017. You have to do 13 cards, and it's like, it's like, make it simple, please, people. Okay, we'll move on. Next question. Right. Instagram, TX Hockey _cards 96, Texas Hockey Cards 96. With all the new NIL deals, do you think we'll ever see a college hockey product? I think this might happen, Troy, because there's all this kind of all these people that are pointing out how a lot of the premier NHL prospects are, not just automatically going to the CHL now and are heading to college. Like we have Celebrini from Canada playing at Boston College, is he at, or Boston University, one of the two. So yeah, if more and more of these premier prospects end up going into college, I think there's a possibility we see the product. Now, I don't know, like it's easy for Upper Deck to do non-NHL cards in Canada because there's such a big appetite for cards in Canada. I don't know if they'd worry about would people in Canada buy these. But if you're a Macklin Celebrini fan, sorry, and you're a Canadian, would you buy his card if it's in an American university versus like a CHL team?
Yeah,
I think you might.
Yep, I 100% believe this will happen. I don't know if it's Upper Deck. I don't know if it's someone else stepped in, but there has to be a market. It might be a small market, but I believe this will happen.
Us Gopher fans would be awesome, huh?
Oh, I'd be all over it. Gopher cards. I mean, any NCAA cards, I'd probably be all over. Just that'd be awesome.
Not Michigan. Just kidding. All right, Facebook rally cards. Do you think the Bedard injury will have impact on the insane wax prices for Series 2? I'll hang up and listen. I don't. I think the price is the price, and the hype train is the momentum is so strong. It would have to have been a major, like, he blew every tendon in his knee, or he had to have his back fused kind of thing, or hip resurfacing or something.
We talk about it a lot more about, I don't know, an hour ago early in the show. So if you missed that, go back to that. Hobby news. Go back to hobby news.
Hobby news. Great question from Twitter or X. I don't want to call it X. I'm going to hang on to the Twitter thing as long as I can. Sebastian Engelhardt, great question. What do you think Upper Deck does with unredeemed auto redemptions? They have an expiration date, but the player must sign all the cards because you receive it well before the expiration date most of the time. Do they just have a hoard of autograph cards somewhere? My assumption, Troy, is that these would be like replacement cards for QC issues. Like if you open up a box and your card is mangled, that maybe they send you one of these. But I don't know. Do you know anything different?
I would say that, and I've heard Upper Deck will honor expired redemptions if they have it. I mean, if they find it, they'll honor it. So it could be sitting there. Or do you think it's like Scrooge McDuck? They have this vault and they just swim in them. They just like a bunch of these cards. And I was trying to think if we actually have asked Billy this on any of our interviews. I'm not sure. Might be a next time question.
I don't know if you would know, because he kind of tends to pawn those off on the customer service people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably their department. We'd have to talk to somebody there. All right, a couple more. Instagram, JB Hockey Cards with okay. Bedard being injured. Will this affect his Young Guns prices on release day? If so, what would be a realistic price for said card? So if the boxes are $300, and I actually hadn't done this mental exercise yet, but I would expect then the Bedard Young Guns Raw would have to at least be $350 or $500, right? You're not going to have a $300 box where you have a 1 in 8.3 chance of getting a Bedard Young Guns, and it sells for less than the box price. There's just no way, is there?
Yeah, I don't think so. What?
No. Do you think it's more than $500?
I think it's more than 500. But I'm trying to remember when we actually predicted these, and I'm like, someone's gonna remember and be like, "Oh, you said it was gonna be." So I think it's gonna be more than 500. Maybe I said 500 to 1,000 was my range, but
that's a pretty big range. But yeah, you might be right.
500 to $1 million. All
right, last question from Facebook, Charles Smith, another good one. What can we do as a hobby to demand more for Upper Deck in their monopoly position? As an example, online photo library, patch cards to protect their consumers. And then number 2 are clarity around game-worn memorabilia and their labeling. Yep. So I think the first thing that I want to point out here, maybe like a tiny bit in Upper Deck's defense, is we tend to like, and we're probably guilty of this too, like pin them for being a monopoly. It's not their choice that they're a monopoly. I know they like the fact that they are, but ultimately it's the NHL and the NHLPA that determine that they want only have one hockey card manufacturer. If they decided they wanted multiple, once their agreement's done, they could fix that in a heartbeat. So sometimes maybe it's a little unfair in how we pin Upper Deck with that. But that being said, it's still a great question. And I love the examples you used.
Yes.
I might amend those though. Like, I think that the better fix, a photo library would be great, but I feel like there has to be a way to manufacture these patch cards so that if you tried to swap the patch, that the patch would be in there so like glued to the extent where you couldn't do it without wrecking the card. Right.
Yeah.
So any attempt it's kind of like the money thing that where like ink like explodes all over and wrecks the card. Right. That sort of deal.
Yeah, I agree. I love his examples, and I wish, I don't know how we make him do it. Obviously, people have complained, and it hasn't led to anything. We know there's a cost and a time to do that, to do the online photo library, which I would love. I think there's some stuff they need to do around. It boggles my mind that like checklists and stuff have to go through these third parties. Like if you go to the Upper Deck website, unless it's EPAC, you go to the checklist part and it's like 2019 is the last set, or it's like
putting my marketing hat on, Troy, think how much traffic to their website they're missing.
Yeah, I just
They just give
unless
it to Beckett and Cardboard
unless they
Connection.
sold, and
Maybe that's a license that
it
they
could be a license and they get paid to Cardboard
Yeah, good
Connection and
point.
Beckett to put those out. But yeah, there's definitely some stuff they can do around their website. I mean, even when you go to your redemptions or you go to log in, you get a pop-up every time. This isn't a secure site. It's 2024 and I'm still getting that pop-up, which is crazy to me. Now, maybe the box where you log in is secure. I don't know. I haven't looked at that, but it's crazy to me. Their website seems a little dated, but I
And then
do
I
love
really
the
like
patch
his
library, and I just love that. I would love that.
I really like his second point too about clarity around game worn
Yeah, have a
memorabilia and their
glossary.
labeling.
Have a glossary out there.
Well, so I assume what Upper Deck has done is to make things logistically a lot easier. Is that they have a big pile of memorabilia that it's a lot easier just to put it in like vague buckets, right? So this was worn by a player, this was game worn, and it would be a lot more complicated. But if you could produce cards, and maybe you only do it for like the cup and other sets, and you say this game worn patch is from a jersey on January 17th, 2020, where Jack Hughes scored 4 goals, right? And even if you just took games where you had the memorabilia from the specific game to do that,
Mm-hmm.
Troy, that man, wouldn't that make those cards infinitely more valuable?
Yep.
Like if you could tie it back to a specific moment
Yeah. Oh,
or
that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. Like MLB does with those balls. And if you're looking
yeah,
on YouTube, this is what happens when I try to go to Upper Deck's website. I get a warning.
yeah.
Google yells at me. Now obviously I can continue to it. Maybe.
Yeah, that's not good. They need to fix it.
So here. I'm gonna just show people, like, I'm not making this up. If you go to products, sports checklist, last one on there's 1819 clear cut.
That's crazy.
So
Big opportunity. I mean,
big
their
opportunity.
website's old.
Yeah, it's old. Definitely it's old, but
And then you're driving more people to your site. You're driving, all that stuff.
Yeah.
All right, personal pickups. What do you got, Troy?
I got nothing. I got a high school, youth hockey. I have not found a lot of time to do buying unless it's a Christmas present for my niece or my nephew. He wanted football cards, so I did go buy.
Yeah, you had a panic about how do I buy football cards?
Well, I know enough to know that hobby boxes of football are insanely expensive. So yeah. I just went to the card shop, got the blaster box, and called it good.
Okay, no, actually, my pickup actually ties in very, very well to the last mailbag question. So I did a trade on my card post. Still growing. There's like 25,000 cards now on my card post. So man, if you're not on there, you got to check it out. So I traded for this. It's from 2016-17 Artifacts. It's a Pavel Bure. It's a year 1 rookie sweaters game used jersey, right?
Wow.
So that's the name of the card. Now gosh, knowing this question came in, I wish I would have said the back.
Oh, you did have the back. Yeah.
The back only says game used. And it did give me a little bit of, so my assumption is, and I think most people's assumption, well, it'd be pretty disingenuous to have this card if it wasn't a game used jersey from his rookie year.
Yeah, it's like from his last season with the Canucks or something. They wore retro jerseys.
Yeah, well, it's a white jersey. It could be with the Panthers or something like that. Their white jersey.
Yeah.
So I just think it's a kind of a neat concept, and I love, Bure kind of hits me in the hobby feels because we were kids of the early 90s and he was pretty electric back then, him and Fedorov. But so yeah, I'm excited to pick up this card. Can't wait to get it in hand.
Awesome.
All right, that's our show. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you might listen to us on. If you love the show, you want to support us, maybe chat with us every day in the Hockey Cards Gongshow Discord server, please consider a $5 a month donation. Join our on a $1.99 support level tier on Patreon. Link is in the show description. Within the podcast app or YouTube, within our Instagram profile or TikTok profile. You go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the Become a Patron link, or go to Patreon's website, patreon.com, and just search for Hockey Cards Gong Show there. We are on social media, so follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. And Troy, the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures LLC. Have an awesome Monday and start to your week, and we'll see you all on Thursday.